It was a dark day in Dallas, November '63. A day that will live on in infamy. President Kennedy was a ridin' high. Good day to be livin' and a good day to die. Being led to the slaughter like a sacrificial lamb, he said, "Wait a minute, boys. You know who I am?" "Of course we do. We know who you are." Then they blew his head off while he was still in the car. Shot down like a dog in broad daylight. Was a matter of timing, and the timing was right. You've got unpaid debts. We've come to collect. We're gonna kill you with hatred, without any respect. We'll mock you and shock you, and we'll put it in your face. We've already got someone here to take your place. The day they blew out the brains of the king, thousands were watching. No one saw a thing. It happened so quickly, so quick by surprise, right there in front of everyone's eyes. Greatest magic trick ever under the sun. Perfectly executed, skillfully done. Wolfman, oh wolfman, oh wolfman, howl. Rub-a-dub-dub, it's murder most foul. Hush, little children, you'll understand. The Beatles are coming, they're gonna hold your hand. Slide down the banister, go get your coat. Ferry cross the Mersey, and go for the throat. There's 3 bums comin' all dressed in rags. Pick up the pieces and lower the flags. I'm going to Woodstock, it's the Aquarian age. Then I'll go to Altamont and sit near the stage. Put your head out the window, let the good times roll. There's a party going on behind the grassy knoll. Stack up the bricks, pour the cement. Don't say Dallas don't love you, Mr. President. Put your foot in the tank and step on the gas. Try to make it to the triple underpass. Blackface singer, white-face clown. Better not show your faces after the sun goes down. Up in the red light district, they've got a cop on the beat, living a nightmare on Elm Street. When you're down in deep Elm, put money in your shoe. Don't ask for what your country can do for you. Cash on the ballot, money to burn. Dealey Plaza, make a left-hand turn. I'm going down to the crossroads, gonna flag a ride. The place where faith, hope, and charity died. Shoot him while he runs, boy, shoot him while you can. See if you can shoot the invisible man. Goodbye, Charlie, goodbye, Uncle Sam. Frankly, Miss Scarlet, I don't give a damn. What is the truth? Where did it go? Ask Oswald and Ruby, they ought to know. Shut your mouth, said the wise old owl. Business is business, and it's murder most foul. Tommy, can you hear me? I'm in the Acid Queen. I'm riding in a long black limousine, riding in the back seat next to my wife, heading straight on in to the afterlife. I'm leaning to the left, got my head in her lap. Hold on, I've been led into some kind of trap, where we ask no quarter and no quarter do we give. We're right down the street where you live. They mutilated his body and took out his brain. What more could they do? They piled on the pain. But his soul's not there where it's supposed to be at. For the last 50 years, they've been searching for that. Freedom, oh freedom, freedom cover me. I hate to tell you, mister, but only dead men are free. Send me some lovin', tell me no lies. Throw the gun in the gutter and walk on by. Wake up, little Susie, let's go for a drive. Cross the Trinity River, let's keep hope alive. Turn the radio on, don't touch the dials. Parkland Hospital, only 6 more miles. You got me dizzy, Miss Lizzie. You filled me with lead. That magic bullet of yours has gone to my head. I'm just a patsy like Patsy Cline. Never shot anyone from in front or behind. I've got blood in my eye, got blood in my ear. I'm never gonna make it to the new frontier. Zapruder's film I seen night before. Seen it 33 times, maybe more. It's vile and deceitful. It's cruel and it's mean, ugliest thing that you have ever seen. They killed him once and they killed him twice, killed him like a human sacrifice. The day that they killed him, someone said to me, "Son, the age of the Antichrist has only begun. Air Force One coming through the gate. Johnson sworn in at 2:38. Let me know when you decide to throw in the towel. It is what it is, and it's murder most foul." What's new, pussycat? What I say? I said the soul of a nation has been torn away, and it's beginning to go in a slow decay, and that it's 36 hours past Judgment Day. Wolfman Jack, speaking in tongues, he's going on and on at the top of his lungs. Play me a song, Mr. Wolfman Jack. Play it for me in my long Cadillac. Play me that Only the Good Die Young. Take me to the place Tom Dooley was hung. Play St. James Infirmary and the court of King James. If you want to remember, you better write down the names. Play Etta James too. Play I'd Rather Go Blind. Play it for the man with a telepathic mind. Play John Lee Hooker. Play Scratch My Back. Play it for that strip club owner named Jack. Guitar Slim going down slow. Play it for me and Marilyn Monroe. Play Please Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood. Play it for the First Lady, she ain't feeling any good. Play Don Henley, play Glenn Fry. Take it to the limit and let time go by. Play it for Carl Wilson, too, looking far, far away down Gower Avenue. Play Tragedy, play Twilight Time. Take me back to the Tulsa and the scene of the crime. Play another one, and another one bites the dust. Play The Rugged Cross, and In God We Trust. Ride the pink horse down the long, lonesome road. Stand there and wait for his head to explode. Play Mystery Train for Mr. Mystery, the man who fell down dead like a rootless tree. Play it for the reverend, play it for the pastor. Play it for the dog that got no master. Play Oscar Peterson, play Stan Getz. Play Blue Sky, play Dickie Betts. Play Art Pepper, Thelonious Monk, Charlie Parker, and all that junk. All that junk and all that jazz. Play something for the Birdman of Alcatraz. Play Buster Keaton, play Harold Lloyd. Play Bugsy Siegel, play Pretty Boy Floyd. Play the numbers, play the odds. Play Cry Me a River for the Lord of the Gods. Play number 9, play number 6. Play it for Lindsay and Stevie Nicks. Play Nat King Cole, play Nature Boy. Play Down in the Boondocks for Terry Malloy. Play It Happened One Night and One Night in Sin. There's 12 million souls that are listening in. Play Merchant of Venice, play Merchants of Death. Play Stella by Starlight for Lady Macbeth. Don't worry, Mr. President. Help's on the way. Your brothers are coming. There'll be hell to pay. Brothers? What brothers? What's this about hell? Tell them we're waiting. Keep coming. We'll get them as well. Love Field is where his plane touched down, but it never did get up back off the ground. Was a hard act to follow, second to none. They killed him on the altar of the rising sun. Play Misty for me and that old devil moon. Play Anything Goes and Memphis in June. Play Lonely at the Top and Lonely Are the Brave. Play it for Houdini, spinning round in his grave. Play Jelly Roll Morton, play Lucille. Play Deep in a Dream and play Driving Wheel. Play Moonlight Sonata in F sharp. And A Key to the Highway for the King on the harp. Play Marching Through Georgia and Dumbarton's Drums. Play Darkness and Death Will Come When It Comes. Play Love Me or Leave Me by the great Bud Powell. Play The Bloodstained Banner. Play Murder Most Foul. Bob Dylan's first song in 8 years, a 17-minute song about the Kennedy assassination entitled Murder Most Foul. Bob Dylan, of course, you know, the poet laureate of the United States. Maybe America's greatest living poet. And apparently today, after 8 years of silence, he wants to tell you about the Kennedy assassination. Strong stuff. Strong lyrics. Lots of conspiracy mentioned. The grassy knoll. The three bums coming all dressed in rags. An amazing amount of song titles mixed in there. I think the song title section is a little long. It was a tough read. But it amplifies the sadness. It amplifies the feeling that he's expressing in the song. It obviously means a lot to him. He waited this long to release it. Seems like it's from around 2000, 2003, judging by his voice and the various references. I don't know if it's a brand new song or not. But it's never been released before. And he just released it today. Today is Friday, March 27th, 2020. My name is Thomas Hunt, and this is the Thomas Hunt Show. Checking out the price of Bitcoin. The line says up, but the chart says down. The price of Bitcoin is down 2.24% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 6,613, a high of 6,867, and a low of 6,604. That's $1 for 15,111 Satoshis. Checking out the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the Dow Jones is open. Today is Friday, their last day of the week, whatever that means. And the Dow Jones is down 3.94%, more than 888 points, giving back what they gained yesterday. Yesterday, of course, you all recall, Congress voted to print $2 trillion in stimulus to help the economy, driving the price of the stock market up, but now it's down again. The stock market is down 3.95% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 21,670, a previous close of 22,552. It's like all this money printing, still not helping.
There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
Infinite amount of cash. Here we are, the coronavirus reset, getting ready. Goes from 510 to 565,943 cases worldwide. That's 25,000 deaths, 129,000 recovered. Stay home. Staying home is a great way not to spread the disease. One way to think about it now is think that you already have the disease and your goal is not to spread it to anyone else. Try not to come into contact with people. If you do get takeout or go out to buy groceries, there's a lot of great YouTube videos explaining how to basically disinfect your groceries. The basics are leave things that aren't perishable in the car for 3 days if you can. Leave them to the side when you bring things in. It seemed like the guy was washing all the fruit, getting rid of all the cardboard packaging, and generally just doing a lot of repackaging with the idea that something could be on the outside of your groceries too. So stay home, lock yourself up in an airlock. Don't open the airlock, at least for a couple weeks. Wear a mask. If you go to work, wear a mask. If you don't have a mask, you can make a mask. It's not that difficult. There's lots of instructions, lots of materials you can use. Something is better than nothing. Masks do work despite what you're being told right now because we don't have any masks, which is an embarrassing admission that they work. They're trying to tell you they don't work because they don't have any. So that's why the hospitals all want them. I'd just like to thank everyone for liking this video. Thanks so much for watching and liking, and we've got 10 likes. It's pretty good. We've got 33 people watching though, so we should have 33 likes, right? Be sure to subscribe as well if you haven't already, and hit that bell for notifications so you get notified when we go on the air. Coronavirus cases in the United States, let's refresh, goes from 74,000 to 93,131, just tapping on the door of that 100,000 infected number. 1,382 deaths. That seems about half of the reported China numbers of deaths, presumably because of America's better access to medical care. But of course, we are seeing many people question these numbers. There aren't enough tests. So a lot of people who are dying, they say it's of pneumonia, could also be COVID virus, as well as there's many people that could be infected that we don't know about because they're only testing the most serious cases. If we had more tests, we'd have more information, but we don't have any information because we don't have any tests. This is the enemy. He doesn't care about your politics, doesn't care about your re-election, doesn't care about your stock market, doesn't care about your dead presidents, your Kennedys, your Bob Dylans, nothing. All it cares about is getting into your cells and multiplying. Checking out Bitcoin. Bitcoin was heading for a big upsurge. Traders explain what happened. Oh, you think the coronavirus happened? You think the entire stock market crashed and everyone was risk-offing, which means selling everything they can for cash? Everything. Miners are selling more Bitcoin than they're mining. Maybe preparing for the halving, these miners are getting ready and making additional sells now while the price is down. Sweet. The fall in Bitcoin's dominance rate could cause these two altcoins to surge. Oh, I wonder what they are. I wonder if I care. Also, I heard the dominance rate was going the other direction, but again, that was yesterday. Analyst, this textbook pattern says there's a 72% likelihood that Bitcoin will burst past $10,000. Ooh. Bitcoin collapsed due to these three extreme events coinciding. You don't say. My. Daring analyst calls Bitcoin crash to 2.4 thousand soon. Ooh. 7 ways the Bitcoin network is growing rapidly. Nice. XRP set for big 40% drop as Bitcoin's dominance climbs higher. Hi-oh. Checking out today's news, what's been going on in the world in the last 24 hours. Hopefully quite a lot. Let's go ahead and go full screen here. Extra bonus, this is the king from the British set of the Lewis Chessmen. Note the details on the back, the snakes, the scary octopus hair, the cracking of the crown, look at the cracking of the crown, the details, and the smooth bottom with no little felt piece. So that's the British king from the Lewis Chessmen, which makes a great comparison with the Scottish king. Check this out. Here's the Scottish king from the Lewis Chessmen. This is to help you guys. This is like a palate cleanser before we do the news. So yeah, there's the Scottish king. There's the British king. Note the Scottish king has a cool felt bottom. The Scottish king has what seems like more carved detail on the back, really. The British king's a little smoother, but very interesting. They have a different shape there. One has the circle, one has the sun. And these are from the Lewis Chessmen from the British Museum and the Scottish National Museum, objectively or selectively, whatever. So respectively, if you will. So also interesting design here. They have the cross Celtics on the English guy, and then the Scottish guy has more of a hatched, less of a design. Interesting comparisons. Worth going to Edinburgh and London to get? I think so. It's been fun. They have a real weight to them. Obviously, the ones in the museum display I could never touch. But these ones, they're mine. So touch them all the time. Also, I'm going to go ahead and get you guys a reading on the price of Bitcoin for next week. I have my own daring analyst right here. He's never been wrong. He's never been right. He's specially modified right here. This is not, you cannot fake it. Are you ready? Here we go. The price of Bitcoin this time next week. Will the price of Bitcoin be higher next Friday? Ask again later. It's a pesky ball. It doesn't always want to tell you the truth. Ask again later. Shout out to Ben the Bow in the chat. He says he's in Lewis right now. The Lewis chessmen were named after the Isle of Lewis, which I believe is in Scotland somewhere. And it's they were found there. The beach receded and they found this kind of chest buried under the ground. And no one knows who they are. Maybe they were stolen from a monastery by pirates. And the pirates hid them on the beach with plans to come back. But none of them lived. Yarr. I don't know. I've got a couple books on the Lewis chessmen. I'd like to check it out when I get a chance. But here we go. Bringing up browser full screen. Browser full screen. Enhance. Enhance. And now here's the news. Don't panic. The army tanks on trains aren't a sign of impending martial law, according to Popular Mechanics magazine. So don't panic. It's just tanks. Suvash writes, that moment when the number of masks, 10 million, procured and donated by one of the most valuable companies in the world, Apple, is just a daily production quota for Taiwan. Another good proxy to grasp the not business as usual seriousness that Taiwan is operating on. So we read some of these. Let's see if we can get back to this. Let's see. I think it was after this. It's funny to see the disagreements. Like, for example, here the Alabama lieutenant governor, not the governor, has come out presumably against the governor, warning people that a tsunami of hospital patients is likely to fall upon Alabama in the not distant future. And it is his opinion that the task force and the state are not taking a realistic view of the numbers or adequately preparing for what awaits them. So a warning from the lieutenant governor here of Alabama. Dr. Fauci says, you do not make the timeline. The virus makes the timeline. Very much in agree with that. Last night, the United States overtook China to become the #1 country in the world for COVID infections. 881,946 to China's 81,285. USA, right? As Eugene Gu, MD, writes, so it's official. We're #1 in the world for coronavirus cases, even surpassing China, which has more than 4 times as many people as the United States. That's because despite spending more money on healthcare than anyone else, we have one of the worst health systems around. Governor Inslee clashed with President Trump, saying that they do not need a backup. President Trump said he would be there as backup, and he would be their backup. Governor Inslee says they need a Tom Brady. They need a quarterback. They need a leader. This is going to be discussed for years after. Books will be written on this, likely books with titles like Failure of Leadership, Failure to Lead, The 3 Weeks of Doing Nothing, 27 Days of Warning, things like this. As Swift on Security writes, humans need to be in a war against a universe trying to kill us. Spend all the money on that. Build 100 square miles of warehouses in the desert with 0% humidity and fill them with respirators and masks and biohazard suits and harpoons to fight super intelligent dolphins. And it is true, we do have options. We can prepare more than we have prepared. We've chosen not to prepare. And to see what happens. It's going to be fun.
There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
That part too. More from Balaji. Balaji writes, for anyone who thinks Neil Ferguson's model is the only source of evidence that viruses can infect 1 billion, please Google the term serosurvey. Direct molecular evidence from blood samples showed that swine flu infected 11 to 21% of the world. Neil Ferguson was the epidemiologist yesterday who said that it's possible that 50% of the United Kingdom is infected. So that would be an incredible, large percentage of the people. They say, no, it can't be possible. Balaji says swine flu infected 11 to 21% worldwide. So sounds possible. The EPA, citing the coronavirus, has been drastically relaxing rules for polluters, because that's going to help. As Davis Wallace Wells, environmentalist and author of the book The Uninhabitable Earth, writes, this is outrageous, though, given that it follows the pattern set by China a few weeks ago, relaxing regulations to juice its recovery. The U.S. probably won't be the last country to back away from environmental issues coming out of the COVID crisis. So once again, crisis is just an opportunity to do what you wanted to do anyway. You wanted to pollute anyway, and now here's your chance. Very exciting for polluters. This is a very sad story. The White House called off the General Motors deal to build ventilators after haggling over the cost. It was going to cost perhaps $1 billion for 40,000 or more ventilators. General Motors having to pay the cost of refitting one of their factories, and they were ready to work with the ventilator company. They had the plans. They were ready to go to get us 40,000 ventilators for a mere $1 billion. In comparison, we spent $2 trillion yesterday. That's 2,000 billion. So we could buy 2,000 of these ventilator packages from General Motors, a company that we saved from bankruptcy, as I recall, something like that. But we're not going to buy them. They're too expensive. President won't buy them. So there you go. And this is one of those stories you can just tuck into your hat and say, oh, a couple weeks from now, maybe 5 days from now, when we don't have enough ventilators and people are dying, that $1 billion, I hope we sleep well, knowing that we traded $1 billion for potential loss of lives. Oh, well. Whale Panda writes, people had lockdown parties when it was announced that all restaurants and bars were supposed to close at midnight. Now, 2 weeks later, quite a few people that attended those parties are in the hospital and in serious condition. So yes, maybe a national shutdown for a virus isn't a time to have a party. Maybe it's not, we should have one more big rager. Maybe it's, we should go home and be safe. Personal responsibility, of course. The people who went to the party made a personal choice in their great and powerful freedom to go infect themselves and others who didn't go to the party, who didn't make that choice. It almost seems as if all their personal choices were connected in some kind of a system, some kind of an environment of air and matter, which are all interconnected. No one is separate. No man is an island. If you get the virus, you could infect up to 59,000 people. So each one of these lockdown party people, each one of these coronavirus party people, and as they're saying in the chat, the spring breakers as well, one of whom has a very apologetic video out right now. He's sorry that he messed with it. And of course, he's infected with the coronavirus. All right, let's keep going. Who is testing people? Who is testing? Germany has decided that saving lives is more important than saving face. In a rather undiplomatic posting, the embassy did not mince words in discussing Japan's unbelievable coronavirus testing. I'm guessing it's unbelievably low looking at this chart. We can see that the United Arab Emirates, that seems to be a very rich and smart country compared to everyone else. They've tested possibly 12,738 people. South Korea, a mere half that, 6,148. Australia, 4,473. Germany, a mere 2,000. And Japan all the way down at 117. So I don't know if Japan is underreporting or claiming these are false numbers, but they need to get a testing. The United States, here we are, 313. So compared to the UAE, which I'm pretty sure is a small little island or chain of islands, a very small little country, 12,000 people. We've tested 300. So these are tests per million people. So for a million people. But still, we're way behind whatever the numbers are. They're awful. Interesting kind of news. I heard yesterday that during the Vegas shooting of 2017, they had to split respirators. They had so many people that were shot that needed to be incubated, need to have a machine that breathes for them, that they split respirators into two, ventilators into two. This is happening now in New York City, where they are sharing the ventilators. But a new company claims to have FDA approval for a splitter device that allows 4 patients to be on one ventilator. It looks like a series of tubes. So I guess they patented it and they have a team and they're going to make lots of money. But they need to mass produce these now. The 3D printing guys need to figure out how to reverse engineer this. If we can use 4 people on one ventilator, this is fantastic. It doesn't solve the shortage, and certainly we need this piece to be everywhere. But great news. Sounds good. It's called Vesper, VESPER, from a company called PrismaHealth.org. So maybe if you know some medical people, they could order it or get it or 3D print it. Since August 2019, ProPublica has tracked more than 10,000 suspected fake Twitter accounts involved in a coordinated influence campaign with ties to the Chinese government. And now it's being let loose on the coronavirus. So very interesting to see these troll networks. As we've learned about in the 2016 election, China has their own troll network and now has been working on the coronavirus. Interesting stuff. As Balaji says here, it really is a tragic thing. The tech press hated tech so much, it decided to deny the virus was a real threat. Now, the MAGA right hates the economic crash so much that they are doing the same. Folks, sometimes things are true, even if your opponents say they are. A nice politically middle-of-the-road statement here of Balaji trying to bring together the tech press, the MAGA people. Everyone just needs to fight this virus. The virus is the enemy. As Balaji said yesterday, all of these economic patches that came out in the $2 trillion bill, that's great. Where's the science patches? Where's the hazard pay for the grocery workers? Where's the pay for the nurses? Where's the protective gear? Where's the funding for prizes and grants and science? Did we put anything in there for the vaccine guy? Could we get him $1 billion? Like, wouldn't that be a good idea? I mean, I know they're going to make a vaccine anyway. There's obviously a need of humanity, lots of publicity, other spin-offs, ability to make future vaccines. There's lots of potential money and fame and power in it. But why not just put $1 billion out there, the $1 billion vaccine prize? I'd rather have that than Carnival Cruise Lines or one of these other companies that don't pay taxes. So more from Balaji. Listen, there are legit criticisms of tech, centralization, privacy, etc., and the economic devastation of the lockdowns and the bailouts. These are generational costs. But that doesn't mean the virus isn't real. We need to target it with technology. I really like what he's been saying here. They need to get him on the news. I'd especially be interested to ask him. I don't think he'd answer. But why isn't he in the administration? I mean, if this guy was close, that means he certainly doesn't mouth off about Trump like I do. But if he was close to being the Health and Human Services Secretary instead of, I think we got Ben Carson, instead of Dr. orders a new desk, Ben Carson, he allegedly spent $10,000 to $20,000 to refurbish his office. He's a government worker. Instead of him, we could have Balaji out there trying to whisper in Trump's ear, trying to get his attention. I don't know if he could have survived the various purges and so on and so forth. But here's a guy with ideas. Here's a guy speaking sense. If only he was in the right place. Here's a major and impressive question from Question Time. Question Time is a UK show where they let journalists ask questions to politicians live on TV. It's pretty cool. It's like we used to have those press conferences. And over there, the politicians still try to answer the questions. They don't just dodge.
To say this, but
Thought this was an especially great question. He's talking about what are they doing for the hospital workers? Are they ordering PPE and so on? Again, YouTube, you don't care, but this is fair use. This is journalism and commentary. This is the same thing the other news does. This is from the BBC.
And honestly, it's sorry to say this, but it's a national scandal. We shouldn't be in this position. We knew in the last week of January that this was coming. The message from China was absolutely clear that a new virus with pandemic potential was hitting cities. People were being admitted to hospital, admitted to intensive care units and dying, and the mortality was growing. We knew that 11 weeks ago. And then we wasted February when we could have acted. Time when we could have ramped up testing, time when we could have got personal protective equipment ready and disseminated. We didn't do it. I'm hearing that not just personal protective equipment is not available, it's the wrong kind of personal protective equipment. What we have isn't even WHO standard. We're putting our health workers, who we've just all clapped here, in the front lines without the armour they need to defend themselves. They're wearing surgical masks which are not WHO standard. They're wearing thin plastic aprons which are not standard. And they're wearing rubber gloves which only cover their wrists, exposing their arms to danger, jeopardy. That is nothing short of a national scandal. How could we allow this to happen? The hypocrisy of clapping NHS workers and yet the government not supporting them to go into that front line is tragic, and it was preventable. I'm sorry to say, but it was preventable.
It was preventable. And this isn't just in the US, as you see here, this is the United Kingdom. If you didn't react to this, if you didn't prepare for this, as soon as this is over, we're going to circle back around and we're going to figure out what happened. So no one's going to be able to hide. They'll never be able to destroy all the records. We're going to know everything. There's going to be interviews. There's going to be conversations. And as you all know, there's going to be documents. Email is the evidence of the 21st century, and there will be emails. There will be text messages. There will be people fighting on the right side. People are like, we should tell the people. We should order things. We should get prepared. There will be people fighting on the wrong side. They'll be reading out these text messages on the air, and they'll say, I can't believe it, but this guy right here in this office right here said, don't do anything. Don't make anything. Don't order anything. Don't prepare anything. It's a Democratic hoax. So yeah, we're going to come back to this. This isn't something we do in the middle of the crisis, but it's going to be written about. It's going to be studied. The evidence will come out, and it will be incontrovertible. You'll know who did this. Shout out to the Fold at Home project, a new supercomputer researching the coronavirus is powered by 400,000 ordinary PC users. So you guys can volunteer at Fold at Home. Check it out. They've got new software that breaks down coronavirus proteins to help fight the virus. Do some scientific work with your extra clock cycles. As we saw a few weeks ago, Trump wore one of his USA Politics campaign hats to the press conference. I'd never seen a president in a ball cap at a press conference inside before. But he must have needed it to keep the sun out of his eyes. As they're saying, Trump used this pandemic press conference to model a campaign hat, and that he's selling this hat for $40 and you can buy it on his website. And that's just distasteful. I don't know that it's specifically illegal or anything like that, but he's wearing the hat that he's selling at a press conference that's about a disease that's killing old people and killing lots of people. So that's just distasteful. Me personally, you can have your own choices and so forth. David Solimny writes, this is the most clear-eyed piece on the president and the pandemic that I've read so far. Bookmark it. He's probably predicting the future. And it's a long read from The Atlantic. Of course, I read it all. Maybe we'll read just a little bit of it from The Atlantic. And again, you guys just have to, you disagree with this, but the more you hear it, the more you think about it, it's going to leak through. And then for those of you who do agree, it just gets worse all the time. So here we go from The Atlantic. For his entire adult life and for his entire presidency, Donald Trump has created his own alternate reality, complete with his own alternate set of facts. He has shown himself to be erratic, impulsive, narcissistic, vindictive, cruel, mendacious, and totally devoid of empathy. None of that is new. But we're now entering the most dangerous phase of the Trump presidency. The pain and hardship that the United States is only beginning to experience stems from a crisis that the president is utterly unsuited to deal with, either intellectually or temperamentally. When things are going relatively well, the nation could more easily absorb the cost of Trump's psychological and moral distortions and disfigurements. But those days are behind us. The coronavirus pandemic has created the conditions that can catalyze a destructive set of responses from an individual with Trump's characterological defects and disordered personality. We are now in the early phase of a medical and economic tempest unmatched in most of our lifetimes. There's too much information we don't have. We don't know the full severity of the panic, or whether a state like New York is a harbinger or an outlier. But we have enough information to know that this virus is rapidly transmissible and lethal. The qualities we most need in a president during this crisis are calmness, wisdom, and reassurance, a command of the facts and the ability to communicate them well, and the capacity to think about the medium and long term while carefully weighing competing options and conflicting needs. We need a leader who can persuade the public to act in ways that are difficult but necessary, who can focus like a laser beam on a problem for a sustained period of time, and who will listen to, and when necessary, defer to, experts who know far more than he does. We need a president who can draw the nation together rather than drive it apart, who excels at the intricate work of governing, and who works well with elected officials at every level. We need a chief executive whose judgment is not just sound, but exceptional. There are some 325 million people in America, and it's hard to think of more than a handful who are more lacking in these qualities than Donald Trump. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you guys can check it out in The Atlantic. It's a fantastic piece. I think one of the key lines here is that the president is either utterly unsuited to deal with. And again, this is an exact echo of Calvin Coolidge. Calvin Coolidge, the businessman in the 1920s, needed to take action to stop or slow or affect the Great Depression. He needed to bail them out. He needed to get in there and do things that no one else had ever done before against a crisis no one else had ever seen. And Coolidge couldn't do it. Coolidge was not up for the task. He was not flexible, right? Coolidge was a businessman. He was a capitalist. He was a square peg. He was not flexible. And in the same way, we have this president who isn't using the Defense Production Act, didn't give $1 billion to General Motors to get us those ventilators, says that the government is not a shipping clerk, says that the states are on their own, and that he takes no responsibility for this. This is adding to the crisis. It doesn't matter if he's a Democrat or a Republican, if he's a reality star or not a reality star, if he fucks porn stars while his wife is pregnant. None of that really matters. What matters is competence. What matters is the ability to see the problem and to solve the problem with the tools available. To use every tool in the toolbox, not to leave them behind because you're not sure about that one. You're ideologically or you mentally or you're just your values. You can't use that tool. We need someone who can use every tool in the box. It's not this guy. We have not exciting. We have breaking news from the United Kingdom. Boris Johnson has developed the coronavirus. Previously,
coronavirus, that's to say,
here's Boris right here,
and a persistent cough. And on the advice of the chief medical officer, I've taken a test that has come out positive. So
he just looks such a character. Seems like a cartoon.
I am working from home, I'm self-isolating, and that's entirely the right thing to do.
And it would have been a great way for Boris Johnson not to get sick, but it was only a week ago when he was shaking hands with all of his constituents, some of whom had coronavirus, and he claimed that it was no problem at all and that it would all be fine. As it said right here, Boris Johnson proudly said that he had been shaking hands with people in spite of the coronavirus. As Tom Grundy from the Hong Kong News says, "We're ruled by clowns." And let's see if we can get that tweet. That was the Boris tweet. But yeah, he doesn't have the other tweet. But yes, previously Boris had been shaking hands with people. The Pope did the same thing. The Pope continued to shake hands with people. Then the Pope was feeling a little sick. Boris actually is confirmed has the coronavirus. As Eli Pariser says, it's important to remember why the United States has the most COVID-19 cases of any country in the world. We aren't the biggest country that's affected, or the first, or the densest, or the ones with the poorest healthcare system. We're the country with the least competent leader. And we really are starting to see that as the United States is starting to pass China in number of cases, and this goes from being the Chinese flu to being the American flu. More Americans have this flu than anyone in the world. I mean, it's pretty much ours. Maybe the Trump flu, or maybe the Trump virus. As Callie Joy Gray writes, Trump seems to be engaged in the premeditated murder of Americans who live in states that didn't vote for him. He's been denying ventilators to New York. He's been playing favorites. He's even been publicly saying that the state should be sucking up to him if they want to receive aid, which is everything that we'd feared. So I agree with David Wallace Wells. He says that we're even running these experiments, but it turns out that a rice cooker was better than an autoclave, bleach, and alcohol for decontaminating N95 and other masks while maintaining filtration efficiency. So I don't know the details, but I suppose you could boil it in a rice cooker. I don't know if you have to add more things, but this is another way of trying to clean your N95 mask. These masks cost less than $1, but we don't have any, so people are reusing them. They're not intended for reuse. Just a shout out to everyone watching at home and in the chat. We have 42 people watching now, and 22 people gave us a thumbs up. So thanks so much for liking this show. You could do it right now for free. It doesn't cost anything. And you should like the other YouTube videos that you watch too. Let's spread this around. Everybody has to say it all the time. Like and subscribe and all these things. But let's work together. Let's like everybody's videos. So good news. Here we go. Good news for a change. Germany's Bosch says that they have developed a test for COVID-19 that can deliver a diagnosis in under 2.5 hours and does not need to be taken to a lab. It was developed in just 6 weeks and can also check for 9 other respiratory diseases, including the flu, using a single sample. Way to go, Germany. Way to go, Bosch. Let's roll those things out. Here it is right here. We talked about it earlier. After considering a $1 billion price tag, that's 1/200 or 1/2000th of our previous bailout. That would be 1/6000th of the total bailout if they do another 2 and another 2, a total of 6. A mere $1 billion, probably less than one of those airplanes, maybe 3 airplanes. We're not getting ventilators. General Motors is just going to let the plant sit there. So I guess if you're in the coronavirus denier section and you say it's no big deal and we should just let everyone get sick because not enough people are going to die. Not enough people are going to die, okay. But if you're in that section, then I guess you're happy. You're like, oh, we're saving $1 billion. We're going to get some sweet airplanes or something. I love this article. They said the president has one job today, find masks. And it talks about how in every other crisis, instead of saying, I'm not a shipping clerk and that I have no responsibility, the president would get out there, get on the phone, and buy us some masks. We talked yesterday about the different states bidding against each other for a ventilator. bidding against each other for a pallet of masks. California, New Jersey, New York, California. Who cares the most about keeping their citizens from dying? Let's have them literally bid against each other. That's not what the states are for. That's not what the national federal government's for. Like, he's letting us down. It's a huge failure. They're bidding against each other. If you live in a poor state like Mississippi, you don't have money to bid against California. Like, this is unfair. It's not supposed to be this way. Like, your choice of state, because of the failure of the national government, now largely affects your ability to live, especially if you're a nurse in a hospital or a doctor. If your state has the money to outbid other states to buy masks, your chance of living just went up. It's not supposed to be that way. I agree with this. Boris Johnson, quote unquote, I was at a hospital where there were a few coronavirus patients, and I shook hands with everybody. You will be pleased to know. And I continue to shake hands, said Boris Johnson, now infected with coronavirus. So don't shake hands. Like, it's over. Like, no more hugging, no more shaking hands, no more kissing. I even think elbow bumping is a bad idea. I like the namaste. Namaste is like, my hands aren't going to touch you. Like, my face ain't trying to touch you. But I'm glad to see you. You're a nice person. Welcome, you know. But yeah, I would cancel the weekly audience if I were the queen. So our leaders need to stop shaking hands. It's over. It's gone. As Balaji says, the Pope did something similar in Italy and fell sick. It is almost beyond belief, but continued handshakes may lead to the fall of governments. So if you always thought handshaking was stupid before, and I know I did, I had people cranking down on my hand. They're kind of excited, or maybe they're just muscular, or maybe it's part of the macho handshake thing. But whatever it is, I was tired of handshakes to begin with. Fist bumps, elbow bumps, still physical contact, don't want that anymore. We're all bubble boys now. We're all bubble boys out there in the world. And the reason we are, just to recap in case you're not keeping score out there, this is a brand new virus. The flu that we get every year, we've had for like 500 years, maybe even longer, maybe thousands of years, right? So we've gotten it a whole bunch of times, and some people got sick, some people developed antibodies, ability to fight future flu. And every year when we get that flu, we're like, oh yeah, we got it again. This thing is brand new. This is the 2019. It's the brand new virus model. Spreads better than other viruses, lives longer on surfaces, infects younger and younger people. It's the new virus. It's hip. We don't have any antibodies at all. We've never seen this before. We have no defenses. Those 500 years of flu defenses, those 500 years of chicken pox and measles and all the other things that we're strong against, even maybe polio, strong against polio now because of the vaccine. All of that doesn't matter now. We're like a brand new, never seen before environment, and the virus is here to spread. So we can't shake hands anymore because of the world's greatest virus, and not great in a great way, but it's like the Bill Maher thing with the cowards. You can't celebrate the virus, but clearly it's a masterpiece of evolution, right? And when we make when humanity, God willing, science willing, knock on wood, other nonsense, when humanity makes the vaccine that kills this virus, then we're number one again. But until then, oh no, the virus is in charge. So you can talk all you want to about your civil liberties and your freedom and your politics and your movements and your whatever. If we don't kill the virus, we're not going to win. So we need to take back the number one spot. And once we're number one again, then we can get back to polluting and making widgets and destroying the rest of the environment. I'm sure we'll get there. But again, back to Trump and the ventilators. He quote unquote, and this is the official story. This is the official, this is not, he's quoting improperly. No. Trump says that he had a feeling that the New York governor's calls for thousands of ventilators are overblown as cases of the coronavirus skyrocket in parts of the country. And just to recap what the governor said yesterday, there's no reason to keep these ventilators in reserve. these ventilators need to be like a mobile force that goes from hotspot to hotspot. Governor Cuomo said that he would personally take responsibility to send the ventilators anywhere in the state or the world that they wanted them shipped after the peak had passed in New York. I mean, sadly, the press briefings don't talk about this, but the reason that we're flattening the curve, or we're trying to anyway, is that we want to not all get sick at the same time. What's happening right now is that Washington State is getting very sick. New York State, especially New York City, is getting very sick. And from what I've heard, New Orleans is starting to get very sick. So if we say we have 3 outbreaks right now, which is conservative, of course, we would take our 40,000 ventilators, maybe split them into groups depending on the size of the outbreak, and send them to each of the locations. We wouldn't keep them in a warehouse, right? That's Trump right now. They sent some to New York, and they're keeping the rest in a warehouse, so no one can live. We need more of these things. We need to be sending them around. We need to have more so that less people die. Having more ventilators is a good problem to have. If we sent too many ventilators to New York, there wouldn't be enough people to plug into them. It would be great, right? If we send not enough ventilators, we can't plug people in. They can't breathe. They get water in their lungs and they die. So it's not about having a feeling. And I don't think that Governor Cuomo is expanding his desire for ventilators for like the good for New York so they can hoard them or keep them, or a way to like benefit in some way. New York's going to head start on other states or some kind of competition based theory. I think he wants them to save his people. I think he knows the numbers of how many infected he has, and he knows how many ventilators he needs. And we should have spent the $1 billion to get them, and we should be sending the archive there. And when they're done there, we'll move them to the next place. And we should definitely be getting that 4-way splitter. I don't know if that's legit science or if it's too new or if it's a certain ventilator model that it works with, but we need that 4-way splitter, a professionally done one. And then really, we need to reverse engineer it and 3D print it if it really works. Sorry, 4-way splitter designers, but we need way more of those than you can make right now. And, you'll get a medal. You'll get a medal and a trophy afterwards if you save people's lives with those 4-way splitters. Maybe it's not as good as like $1 billion or whatever, but I'd rather save all those people's lives. So I agree very much with Matthew Iglesias. He writes, this seems extremely correct to me. Western government should be addressing PPE shortages by instructing citizens on how to improvise homemade masks while ramping up industrial production, not pretending to believe that masks don't work. And we've seen a lot of this in the United States. We don't have a mask-wearing culture. If we see people with a mask, generally we think, oh no, what do they have? As if they were some creepy virus. And that was the old days, when just, Asian people tend to wear masks when they are sick as a way of politeness to protect against other people. Americans see those people and freak out, but really they're being kind. They're trying to protect you from getting sick. In the same way, we don't have any masks here. Like, we've been sold out for a while. The hoarders got them. The people selling them, gouging. Hopefully the hospitals. I don't think so, but so we don't have any. So dealing with this crisis of not having any, we're just telling everyone it's fine, that you don't need a mask, and that masks only work if you have N95 or N99, fancy masks. When surgical masks do block some microbes, going down a level from a surgical mask, a homemade mask would block some microbes. Going down a level from that, a t-shirt wrapped over your mouth would block some microbes. A scarf would block some microbes. The key to the t-shirt and the scarf versus this homemade mask, presumably you could dispose of the homemade mask. Remember, every time you wear a mask outside, the front side of the mask is full of a bunch of germs and chemicals and whatever you're trying to block. So you generally want to get rid of the mask rather than making it to like a sea or a heavily covered structure of dirt, layers of dirt. Then you're just breathing through layers of dirt. Then the mask is going to fail. They've also been talking about ways to clean masks. I don't know the details. I'd assume rubbing alcohol, something like that, something very extreme. Dunk them, dry them, whatever. Sounds awful to breathe through a cleaned mask, but we don't have great options. And as far as these homemade ones, we're looking for something to do. We have all these people. I'm not a sewer. I sew a little bit, but not at a high level. I don't have a sewing machine. But a lot of people do. And I know it's not a big deal, but times like this, you have to give people something to do. In these press conferences, a lot of people who don't usually watch the news, usually they prefer basketball or something, right? They're watching the news now, and they're looking for something to do. And I remember a long time ago, after 9/11, we were looking for the same thing. And I was hoping against hope that President W. Bush would say, hey, you should get out there in your community and you should build a baseball park, or you should have a community center, or you should go help some people, or go help your church, or go volunteer, right? That's how, we're going to beat 9/11. Really, at a larger level, as a Christian president that he talked about all the time. And I know it's impossible to wish for this much, but I wish he would have turned the other cheek and forgiven them for it and went around the world bombing people with hospitals. And people would say, the United States came and they gave us a bunch of food and they left and they didn't even want anything. And then the United States came and they dropped a bunch of hospitals on us and then they left. They didn't want anything. And that we could turn that around, because if you actually look at the situation with some of the groups, like the blocking on the name right now, but the Palestinian group, they actually support their community with hospitals. So people then support them because they're supporting the community. The United States has tons of money. Instead of spending it on bombers and all these other things and attacking the wrong country and all the other things that we ended up doing, we could have just bombed them with hospitals. We could have been, wow, the United States, they're the ones that gave me this. And that giving them this stuff, although again, it's not capitalist and it's, it's costing us money, certainly. But in a way, you're buying freedom, you're buying peace, right? Because if you give them a hospital and you cure 10 people and they go on, then they're happy. Whereas if you bomb their town and you kill 10 of their brothers, then you got 10 other people who are going to fight you forever. So I would have wanted to see that, but that's way too much to ask. I know but still, he talked a lot about being a Christian president before 9/11. We barely knew him. He was very new and everything to the scene, but he talked a lot about his faith and how it encountered his decisions. And maybe the 7 minutes that he spent sitting there listening to My Pet Goat in that Florida classroom, maybe he was thinking about turning the other cheek. I don't think so. I think he was just mad. But he got angry, and fear leads to hate, and hate leads to anger, and anger leads to suffering. So Patrick writes in, might even be in the chat. Shout out to Patrick and his handlebar mustache there. The WHO says that masks don't work and that there are no benefits to infant male circumcision. That there are benefits. Thank you. There are not, because circumcision's bad. Now everyone else knows they're full of shit. So as we can see here, here's the countries where it's growing out of control, where we don't have masks. Here's the countries where they've got it under control. South Korea, Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong. They all have masks, and they have a culture of wearing masks. So just as, again, somebody said to get out of here with my logic, but as a logical person, this is not left or right or Trump or whatever. Looking at this chart, if we want to beat this virus here in the United States, where the idiocracy that I happen to live in, we should wear masks like these smart people in South Korea, Japan, Singapore, and Hong Kong. I say it all the time. I still think it's a great quote. David Mamet's a fantastic movie director, writer, playwright, all those things. But it's from the movie Heist. And Gene Hackman, he's a bank robber. And he says, I try to think of what someone smarter than myself would do, and then I do that. And for me, big believer in Dunning-Kruger effect. We had that great Feynman quote the other day where Feynman said, I'm smart enough to know I'm dumb. And me too. I'm smart enough to know I'm dumb. And you can look at Dunning-Kruger. Probably makes me pretty clever to know that. like to know that there are smarter people. But when I look at this chart and I say, wow, some smart people put this together, and I look at the ones who are wearing the masks, I say, I want to be like them. It's not left or right. It's not country or country. It's too bad we don't have masks. It's too bad we don't have a stockpile. I hope next time we'll have a stockpile. But I hope next time we'll have masks. And I hope next time we'll develop a mask culture here in the United States, because this WHO announcement is just wrong. if you do not have any respiratory symptoms, such as fever, cough, or runny nose, then you do not need to wear a medical mask. When used alone, masks can give you a false sense of protection and can even be a source of infection when not used correctly. That's just bullshit, right? That's not true. I don't know why they're putting that out. I know we don't have any masks, and it's a bummer, and I don't look forward to breathing through a t-shirt, as my only way of living, but the alternative of doing nothing and allowing more microbes in. I know it's not 95% or 99% or whatever, but less shit in your mouth, right? I get profane with you, but less shit in your mouth. Another great line from the movie Payback. Don't shit where you eat. Don't shit where you eat or live. Don't shit where you eat or live. That's good advice. Let's see what else we've got. It was the largest Bitcoin difficulty drop since ASIC mining started in 2013. So we did see a significant amount of Bitcoin miners turn off their miners, perhaps due to the 50% drop. Perhaps it was planned anyway. Just to recap, if you're not up on the whole Bitcoin difficulty thing, when the miners turn off their miners, the difficulty is temporarily too high. So the blocks would slow down because it's very difficult for the existing group of miners to reach that level. Then there'll be a difficulty adjustment, which I think happened yesterday. The difficulty adjustment will lower the difficulty, so now the existing group of miners can easily hit that level and mine the block. This allows the blocks to go back to every 10 minutes on average. So it might be 12 minutes, might be 8 minutes, so on and so forth. When the difficulty is too high, the blocks don't come every 10 minutes on average. They come slower. So the difficulty adjusts. If a bunch of people turn off their miners, difficulty goes down. If a bunch of new people turn on miners, the difficulty would be too easy for a little while. The blocks would come faster, and then the difficulty would rise up. So it's a really cool system. It's really neat, the way that it manages the number of miners and the way it manages the Bitcoin difficulty. But yes, it's definitely not a good sign that these miners have turned off. We don't know the specific reason. Most likely, they had a contract. It was like a 2-year mining contract. Hit the end of their contract, they're done. Maybe something else happened. They had an electricity deal. Electricity deal went out. Maybe they had to move warehouses, or their warehouse got shut down, something like that. So maybe there's a flood. I saw somebody else saying that 70% of the Bitcoin miners in China are near these rivers, and these rivers are ready to flood this next season. So that could be a problem too. But once again, the difficulty would adjust if 70% of the miners turned off their machines. It would go down. It would be very easy for a little while. And then when those miners relocated or solved their power problem or whatever, they'd turn it back on. Difficulty would adjust back upwards. It's a really neat system. But yeah, the price might go down because the difficulty is going down and all that stuff. So it's something to keep in mind. The inverse is also true. Max Kaiser is always harping about how the difficulty constantly going up ensures that his investment is constantly going up because more and more people are essentially investing in the Bitcoin network. They're buying machines and computers to keep Bitcoin going. So it could just be a bump in the road. Could just go down a little and then go back up. Let's see. Andrew Yang, former presidential candidate, big fan, writes, government may be the only thing that can fail miserably and then get bigger as a result. And that's a very funny evolutionary thing to say. Like if you think about the virus, like it succeeds, then it multiplies. Or if you think about rabbits or something, they succeed, then they multiply, right? But government fails like ours did horribly, and then gets bigger with these $2 trillion injections, possibility of $6 trillion injection. Blasey, again, man of wisdom, writes, the best way to deal with the virus is competent central governments. Asia has them. The West does not. A distant second is the decentralized response. The worst way is powering up our existing state. That will end badly. More failure, more funding.
There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
There is indeed an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. And again, for the people who are all upset about politics, look at the way Balaji is cutting through this with a knife. Competent central government. Asia has them. We saw the chart. Japan, Singapore, South Korea, Hong Kong, all flatten the curve, all wearing masks, all reacting to this appropriately. We can add to that Germany. The rest of the countries of the world have pretty much failed in similar ways, right? Notice I didn't put Italy on there. Netherlands. These countries are in big trouble. United States, big trouble. Mexico, sleeping through it. Not even paying attention. It's coming there next. And that's to say nothing about the countries that we don't really cover because no one goes there and points a camera. They had a camera there yesterday on BBC News. South Africa is getting ready for their outbreak. The conditions, at least on the 5-minute news broadcast that I watched, were unbelievable. There were 8 people sharing a locked porta potty. That's a disease spreader. Everyone who didn't have access to the locked porta potty is likely shitting in the street. So South Africa, very compact, dense society, very poor society, very poor medical system. And the virus is going there too. The virus doesn't care that they're a poor country or a rich country, that they're prepared or they're not prepared. But Africa, and then they're saying in the chat, India's next. And simultaneous as well. It's not just going to wait like a movie rollout schedule. It's going to be at the same time. And again, those ventilators we could have bought from General Motors, that plant that we could have had running. I don't want to be the only one who's saying this, but we could send those ventilators to India and Africa too. Our Indian and African brothers and sisters are going to need ventilators. I don't know if they have electricity. Maybe we're going to need batteries and generators and other things. It's a complex problem. But if we had more, we could share. I don't think we're in any position where we have too many ventilators or that we're going to have too many, or that even if we had too many, we could stockpile them for later. So very much in disagreement with this not giving General Motors $1 billion, or the alternative, not engaging the Defense Production Act, which commands them to make ventilators. We've been talking about this for weeks now. I don't know that there's a single ventilator made. Other than at the ventilator company, which I'm sure they're working on it. But we need more than that. It's not just about us. It's about the rest of the world. And again, imagine the goodwill. Every ventilator shipped to South Africa with a big USA sticker on the side. Every ventilator shipped to India, big USA sticker on the side. Every life we save, they say, hey, I like that America. They did some previous stuff that wasn't okay, but they sent my people some ventilators and some masks and some gloves, and they give a shit about us, because we're going to come out of this thing. We don't think about it. We're going to come out of this thing, and then we're going to say, why didn't we do that? Why didn't we make ventilators? Why didn't we make gloves? Why didn't we send them internationally? Why didn't we think about what was going to happen when we were done with the virus? And we're going to have like round 2 and round 3 of this virus. It's going to branch out again. We're going to need those ventilators essentially back. Like we could send them to India and have them there for the crisis and then send them to the next crisis area. As you can see, this managing of the ventilators alone is a massive job. This is a logistical job. This is like people who work for the Red Cross and other disaster organizations, FEMA, things like this. You don't just assume that the ventilators are going to go where they're supposed to on purpose or just by random happenstance. You actually have to direct them. Like all of these things are directed, and these are top-down military-like structures of orders. Send 10 ventilators to this city. Like the ventilators get sent. That's how an order works. So I don't know why we're not doing this. I've been watching it for a week now. I've been watching it since February. I've been watching it since January. I mean, I monitor the news just as a general thing. And so many people sleeping. And even now, we're right in the middle of it. We just cracked 100,000 cases in the United States. And I don't care if he's a Republican or a Democrat. I just want more freaking ventilators. I don't, General Motors, ventilator company, 3D print them. I want more ventilators, more gloves, and more protective shields and things. And if they're not making them, I'm here to hold them at fault. I'm here to say they are at fault for not making them. And again, we're going to come back to this. It doesn't have to be right now. Certainly, I wouldn't pull them off the line in the middle of the crisis. But first, do no harm. Right? That's the Hippocratic Oath. Next, get your ass in gear and do something good. Right? This is it. This is the time. So in a week, it's not going to matter. And we're not going to be able to make a ventilator in 5 minutes or whatever. So we have the same thing going on in the United Kingdom. Boris Johnson has rejected the European Union's offer of a bulk buying ventilator scheme and is ignoring offers from existing UK sources, as Richard Dawkins, famous scientist, writes, and it's a quote from the article from The Guardian. Asked why the UK was not taking part in the EU scheme, the Prime Minister's official spokesman earlier said, "We are no longer members of the EU." He stressed that the UK was making their own efforts in this area. So it seems like the desire for Brexit is now actually going to cost lives. Once again, it's about being humble. It's about being pragmatic, right? A pragmatist says, well, we're not going to rejoin the EU. That was a huge hassle. Like, we're done with that, right? But we could join this one deal to get a bunch of ventilators because it would benefit us and it would benefit the EU. It seems like a no-brainer decision, but I suppose I don't have that kind of nationalism Brexit that might be clouding their decisions here. UK needs more ventilators. EU needs more ventilators. Africa, India, we're not even talking about them. We're going to talk about them soon. I'm sure we wait. We wait until things become a big problem to solve them. This is annoying. Why don't we solve things before they become a big problem? I know we won't get as big a celebration at the end because we didn't, rescue victory. We didn't rescue defeat from the jaws of victory, or rescue defeat from the jaws, whatever it is, victory from the jaws of defeat. Yes, it's more dramatic. Yes, it's more fun. I myself am a famous procrastinator. I didn't have to work very hard in school, and I found it a lot more fun to not study and still ace the exam. That was challenging, right? Studying makes the exam too easy, right? It's boring. So I get it. They want to be dramatic heroes here. They want to rescue us. They want to save the day. But it would be so much easier if we would just stockpile a bunch of ventilators. It would be so much easier if we just build a bunch of gloves so we had too many. We can have too many. There was a thing yesterday that Dyson, the incredible inventor, also from the UK, had invented a new type of ventilator, and it was easy to build, and it was 3D printed, and like the hand drying things and like the vacuum cleaner. I'm sure it's amazing. And maybe even inexpensive, because I think he was willing to open source the plans and to give it away. And that let's give Dyson $1 billion. Let's give these guys, I mean, I know we don't have,
there is an infinite amount of cash.
We have an infinite amount of cash, so we may as well use it to get these darned ventilators. And I don't know why we're not doing this. This is a slow motion catastrophe. We're going to talk about this, next week. This Luca Delena says, this is the most important chart you'll see this week. Deaths in Bergamo and Lodi provinces in Italy due to the coronavirus in March 2020 to date in red are already higher than deaths in the whole of March 2019 for all causes of death, blue. So this is a comparison of red is the coronavirus, blue is all other deaths. So it looks like depending on your province, we're seeing a lot of these outweighing normal mortality in the region. So it's seeing a major effect there. Let's see, we lost our place. We're getting near the top. That's good. I didn't watch the Trump press briefing yesterday, and I didn't search for it, so I didn't live tweet a bunch of stuff. So less to talk about. So save me some trouble. The data point would go down in that direction. It's not only that something went wrong in Lombardy, but that COVID deaths are undercounted in other areas, leading the red bars in the previous charts to be lower. He's trying to collect more data, but it does seem like the deaths from Italy are being underreported because they don't have enough tests. If you can't test everyone, you can't confirm that they have it. Even if they die, maybe you just say it's pneumonia or something. But yes, we're still not getting, and this is the frustration of the fog of war, right? We're in the middle of battle right now. We get limited information. Some of it's true, some of it's untrue, some of it's close to true, right? There's different categories. We can trust the information we can see. We have to judge everything by its source, by its time, by its quality. And judging by this, we're not getting good statistics out of Italy either. So both China and Italy have not great numbers now. The United States also, a lack of testing, not great numbers there either. So we have a baseline understanding of coronavirus, but we do not have really more information. We don't have it. And I mean, we'll get it. We'll get it, but we'll get it in time for those big books that no one ever reads to have it. That's when we'll have all the proper data. So we just have to wait. As he says here, more cues of under-testing in Italy. 5 people died of COVID, 24 more died in a residence, but none of them were tested. 36 people died between the 1st and 24th of March, compared to a yearly average of 75. So as many people died in less than a month, three weeks, than die in the entire year. So half of them. So yes, it's out of control in Italy. We do not know the numbers. As Joe Weisenstahl writes, the only good news this morning is Bob Dylan just casually dropping a previously unreleased 17-minute song on YouTube about the Kennedy assassination. And if you check back to the beginning of the show, I read you the lyrics to this impressive and emotional Bob Dylan song. It's long and it's slow, and you can tell that Bob Dylan very much was a fan of John F. Kennedy. So check that song out. We've got some good links here, got some lyrics and so forth. President Kennedy was a riding high. Good day to be living and a good day to die. Being led to the slaughter like a sacrificial lamb. He said, wait a minute, boys. You know who I am? Of course we do. We know who you are. Then they blew his head off while he was still in the car. Great stuff. Master poet, Bob Dylan. And in Michigan, cases are exploding, but outside of the hotspots, they can't get tests. So we don't really know what's going on in Michigan because we're not testing it. As Marcos Mulatos from the Daily Kos writes, you couldn't come up with a dumber way of doing this. And that's another potential book title, Ignorance, or A Dumber Way, or The Lowest Common Denominator, or something. We'll see. They'll be out soon enough. And watch out for that new chlorozine, because the paper that supports it from the French investigator and team have a history of faking data and being banned from journal publications. So this cure-all that everyone's all excited about, maybe we should test it before we declare it a cure-all. Reminding us of the previous comment, you couldn't come up with a dumber way of doing this. If we had, and it's not a cure, so let's go down the line. So the cure we need is the vaccine. The vaccine won't be bulletproof. It won't be invincible. COVID's going to mutate. We're probably going to have other vaccines and things in the future. But the vaccine is a weakened version of the disease that we expose everyone to. Then they develop antibodies, so you get just a little bit sick. You get the antibodies. The theory is the antibodies protect you from the disease the next time. Of course, the disease out there is mutating, so you're probably going to get some other version of the disease. You're going to need another version of the vaccine. We're going to go down the line. But I can say, and again, rare good news, in alternative to what other people have been saying, this virus is not mutating quickly. Despite the fact that it's spread all around the world, we're seeing pretty much the same coronavirus in various locations. This means that the vaccine, when it is produced, will be more successful and will last longer and be just a better vaccine than we previously thought. So vaccine is looking good. That's the cure that we need. That's the prevent people from getting sick, right? Doesn't help the people that already have it. They already have the antibodies. It doesn't help the dead, but it pretty much stops the whole thing. But that's going to take 1.5 years in testing, right? So really long time to be locked inside all those other things. So we're going to need all the other tests and all of our other treatments and such. That's why people are so excited about this chloroquine, is that chloroquine combined with like 3 or 4 other things, including the HIV cocktail. So we're not talking something you can find in your fish tank here, despite the fact that 2 people already took chloroquine from their fish tank and one of them's on critical care and one of them's dead. Is that, you can't just have this at home. You can't just score the one thing. You can't just buy it and cure yourself. But it might not even work. The way that we need to do medicine in a crisis is the same way we do medicine during a non-crisis. We test it. We make sure it works. Then once we've confirmed that it's worked, then we could mass produce it. Then we could announce it, right? What we did here, because we found the dumbest possible way of doing it, is that we announced it first. Now we're having a hard time finding it so we can test it. So we don't even know if it works or doesn't work. So we don't even know if we need to mass produce it. We're probably, in fact, mass producing it before we test it because there's a chance to profit because people do think it works. And maybe it does work in a combination with 3 or 4 other things as a treatment for people who are sick. So it's not the vaccine. It works. We've got... they're saying in the chat that South Korea and China used it, but that's a small sample size. Again, I'm fine with using it if it works. I just want to test it first, mass produce it, then announce it. I don't want to announce it first, test it later, and mass produce it last. That's, again, you have to begin with the end in mind. What is my goal? Well, my goal is to cure and to treat as a treatment to help reduce the symptoms of the disease, increase better outcomes, right? Those are my goals. So certainly, if this works, I'm 100% in favor, but I think we should test it and mass produce it and then announce it. So I was going to have Will on here and I was going to try to argue him to that point, to the point where he realized that, yes, testing needs to come first. We can't just, if you do anything else, you're going to hurt people. You're going to hurt the amount of time it would take you to get the drug out, all of that other things. So I really think we can't just abandon our processes here. Like we have a reason that we do things in order. Like it's frustrating. It takes time. Like for example, the testing. Why is the vaccine going to take 1.5 years? Because if we give you too much of the virus in a weakened version, you're going to get really sick. And if we give you too little, you're going to get not sick enough and not develop the antibodies. And this depends on every individual person. There's pretty much, classes of people they're going to develop to test against, and then they're going to test against each one. And maybe the vaccine works really good in some people, but not at all in others. We can't mass produce that vaccine. It's not ready yet. That's why we're going to take 1 year to test it. So again, it is what it is. It's in the pipeline. It's going to do it. Another great line from the Bob Dylan song this morning. They mutilated his body and they took out his brain. What more could they do? They piled on the pain. But his soul's not where it was supposed to be at. For the last 50 years, they've been searching for that. And for those of you who don't know, an autopsy was performed on JFK while on the airplane flying out of Dallas, where LBJ was there, was later sworn in with Jackie Kennedy. And they removed Kennedy's brain, and we don't know where it is. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's not disproven in any way. It's 100% fact. President Kennedy's brain is gone. So you have to have some really bad enemies that want to go kill you and then take out your brain. Some pretty sick stuff. I was checking out CNBC this morning, changed the topic here, get away from Bob Dylan and his creepy song with all its creepy references that maybe even he intends to be his last song. Maybe Bob's not feeling well and he was thinking, let's go out with a bang. I hope he makes more music. I hope he releases more songs. It would be powerful, though, to release this as a final song. It would give it more power. But if you listen to the song, it's got plenty of power anyway. I mean, it's hurricane worthy. A little long with the listy and stuff, but you have to imagine how deeply this event affected him. And even now, 30, 50 years later, whatever it is, it's still affecting Bob Dylan, this event. I checked out CNBC this morning and everything was down 3%, even though they printed all that money and they're giving it to the airlines and the travel industries and just a little bit for the people. And of course, I was reminded of the classic rhyme, all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't make the market go up again. And shout out to Umair H on Twitter. Almost nowhere in our societies do I see the obvious lesson being drawn. Decades of austerity broke our systems, including healthcare, which left us epically vulnerable to catastrophes at the precise moment where their risks were increasing. And I agree with him here. I've seen a lot of people saying that this is not a black swan event. This was a white swan event. This was one that we knew was coming. We know, for example, that global warming is accelerating the heating of the oceans. It's melting the ice caps. It's making the environment more fierce. It's drowning islands. And because the water is hotter, we're seeing more hurricanes turn into hurricanes. Whereas if the water was cooler, they would just fizzle out in the ocean. But they're actually making land and they're smashing things. So we're seeing a lot more of this. And like he said, the decades of austerity, we've been working against the worker for a long time. There haven't been any union movements in my lifetime, really significant ones. I mean, there's been a few, trying to unionize the Walmart workers. Maybe if you want to go a little bit before my time, Cesar Chavez trying to unionize the farm workers. Without any major union movements, we haven't had any benefits for the worker. It's all been on the other side. Every time that they took away people's health care, every time they took away people's benefits, every time they tightened it to make more money for themselves, they increased the chance of this happening. Right now, we are completely dependent on grocery store clerks, people that restock shelves, nurses, and doctors, right? Grocery store clerks, people that restock shelves, we've been treating them terribly for decades. Like Bernie Sanders said on the floor of the Senate the other day, they haven't even raised the minimum wage nationally to $15 an hour. They haven't even raised the minimum wage. So everyone that's cheering, we got them. We got those pensions down. We got those liabilities down. We're giving them less health care. The tricks they do, for example, if you had a job in a fast food or a restaurant like that, you're a part-time worker. You could never get more than 40 hours a week because if they go more than 40 hours a week, they have to give you some version of health care. So they would do tricks like this on the working people for decades. And they were so clever with all their accountants and all their management training and the way they made fast food workers disposable, the way they're going to replace them with robots. They were so clever. They robbed the people so well that now we have this where people can't afford to stay home. People need jobs right now. People are out of money. They don't have any food. They're at home and they're incredibly desperate and they don't have health care. That's where this is all led to. Not having universal health care in the United States, not having a social security or a safety net for unemployment, not having welfare. Like, you did it. You starved the poor. And now the poor are so incredibly weak that they're spreading this virus like wildfire. And the virus is going to kill you too. What a surprise. Prince Charles infected with the virus. Boris Johnson infected with the virus. The Pope has a little cough. Celebrities and rich people are going down too. It's almost like treating the workers bad eventually comes back and ruins you too, as if the whole system was some kind of karmic circle where every bad thing you did on the way up came back against you on the way down. I wonder if we treated people better, if we would be in this same problem. I wonder if we could do a test on that. You know, I wonder if that would be different than what we have now. Maybe we could do an experiment, see how it goes. Germany's medical association is on board with universal mask wearing. It is perhaps the easiest tool with the most bang for the buck that we could deploy right now today in the United States. And yet, we are drowning in top-down misinformation. They reminded us of the story we talked about yesterday. In the Czech Republic, masks have been compulsorily forced since March 18th. The country has only had 2 deaths, and the growth of new cases has flattened. We showed you pictures yesterday of volunteers in the Czech Republic making homemade masks to give to other people. This should be happening in the United States. Every one of those press conferences should be saying, hey, you should be at home stitching up some masks. They should be celebrating youth groups and citizens organizations who have made the most masks and donated the most masks to their people. Your neighbors down the street should be dropping off packages of homemade masks on your door. But it's not happening because we're not doing anything. Because we're sitting around watching TV, waiting for this to be over, doing nothing. Because that's what we were told to do. This is a good plan. We'll see how it turns out. Amazing front page design here in the New York Times. Again, left or right. Let's just appreciate the art. Newspaper design is a dying art, and the New York Times has really just knocked it out of the park here. We see along the bottom of the page they have the normal unemployment numbers here in yellow. We have the unemployment going up, and we have it going all the way down. This is probably the 2008 crisis right here. Down, 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 down. Then on the far right, we have this one incredible yellow bar that stretches all the way up the side of the newspaper page. All the way up the side of the page. This is the 3.2 million claims for unemployment that we just had yesterday. They say the systems were overwhelmed. The systems might have not registered a lot of people. A lot of people might not have been able to register. This could go up even in the next few days. But what a fantastic newspaper design. Really delivering you the information of the size of this graph. It's so big, it takes up the whole page. So fantastic work, New York Times graphic department. Great work. And next comes the part where it goes straight up. China has 4 times the population of the U.S. and was able to flatten their curve. The U.S. has now blown through China's case N, the tip of the iceberg, with no testing for 2 months to become the COVID-19 epicenter. As he says, the worst is yet to come. Look at the United States, the blue graph right here. It's going up like an elbow. And then you can see right here, it's pretty much going to start going straight up. We're going to see complete growth over growth. We're going to go straight up. So that's going to be very scary. But there's not much we can do about it because we don't have masks and we don't have testing and we're not getting ventilators. So stay inside and try not to die. You're on your own now. Remember all the talk about the greatest generation in the society and all the sacrifices and all the things we did together? Well, it turns out that as Americans, we're going to die together too. So as Ben Franklin used to say back in the day, either we'll all hang separately or we'll all hang together. Either way you hang. So, but shout out to the chat. I've been watching it scroll by. Haven't had much of a chance to really read it. I want to go ahead and get some graphics going here and open it up for phone calls. So if you'd like to call right now, you can tell us your opinion on what's going on right now. Tell us how it is in your location. What do you think about the price of Bitcoin? I saw someone saying they wanted me to talk more about Bitcoin the other day, but unfortunately, I don't know that many people are working on Bitcoin right now. I don't think that the startups are really still going. I don't think that any of the Bitcoin programmers were essential people. Maybe they're still at home plugging away, working on it. But this is not a good time to release new features or new software. This is a time to lay low. So I hope that everyone's still working on things and that we'll see a flurry of announcement. Maybe after this ends, we'll see get back to growth and get back to exciting new announcements and new papers and all the kinds of things that we usually report on this show. But right now, there just aren't any of those. And the coronavirus thing, you try to talk about the science, you try to talk about it in a straightforward, logical manner, but the politics are all around, and the politics are affecting the way we discuss it. Here in the United States, we're pretending that masks don't work because we don't have any. That's going to be exposed later. We're also pretending that the rest of the world doesn't need ventilators and that we're not going to build them. It's a horrible idea. I can't believe we're doing it. $1 billion is nothing. I mean, I know for normal people it's a lot. $1 billion's a lot. $1,000's a lot for a normal person. But for a government, $1 billion is nothing. So let's see. Hastings has a question on the hash rate recalculation. I believe the difficulty adjustment happened in Bitcoin. I read a couple argument, adjustment, Bitcoin. I'll see if I can find the article about it. Let's see. It says every 2 weeks, or precisely every 2016 blocks, the Bitcoin protocol adjustment is adjusted. So let's see if we can get a chart on this. Competition in Bitcoin mining eases as the price drop thins the herd, according to CoinDesk. Looking at BTC.com, let's see here. Open up the graphics package. Get some graphics. Let's see. We are seeing the peak here in the difficulty. Looks like a kind of just a burn off top, really. Like maybe people just turned on machines and then turned them back off. Date to the next difficulty adjustment is 12 days and 4 hours. So I think we already had the adjustment. So should be good to go. Blocks should return to every 10 minutes on average. Let's see. Do they have block time? Here's the average block time right here. Looks like 11-minute block, 9-minute block, 10-minute block. So we're fine here. Going back, see if we can find the disturbance. Here's some 7-minute blocks, so those would be faster. 11-minute block. Here we go, right here. So we can see the difficulty must have adjusted somewhere. There's a time. 2009. It's not useful. I don't know. The last time we really had a problem looks like block time really was 2009. At least according to this chart here. We had a couple 11-minute blocks here, but that's 2018. So this is not a... I'm not screen sharing. Oh, good point. Oh, well, there's a lot of buttons to push here. But yeah, here's BTC.com. I thought I was screen sharing because I put it in the right screen. Looking at this potential blowout top in the difficulty here, then going back down a little bit and looking at our date to next difficulty, it says 12 days. So I think we've already had the difficulty adjustment. I think we're good to go again. And I'm not specifically seeing the problem here. I might be zoomed out too much. I might not have good data here. I might need to drill down to really see the problem with the block size. We can see the hash rate here, looking at the average hash rate on the far right. 98 exahash, 105, 110, 111, 110, 118, and then back to 99. So it does, we do see quite a lot of a drop, 20 exahashes pretty much missing right here. But it looks like they were pretty much turned on recently. So if we look at these miners and we say, okay, on the 1st of January 2020, we were at 98. And then now, 3 months later, 4 months later practically, we're at 99. So we really haven't changed that much. It just looks like somebody turned on some miners for just these 4 months and then decided to turn them back off. So I'm not seeing that much of a really big drop in the difficulty. It just looks to me a lot more like somebody speculated mined for 4 months, ran out of money, didn't work out. Maybe it worked out and they exited. But that's what I'm seeing here in the Bitcoin difficulty. So wouldn't worry about it that much, but it's definitely something to keep an eye out. It's an interesting statistic that we have access to, so it's good stuff. Thanks to Hastings for the $3 in the chat. Very cool. The show's been going for about an hour and 45 minutes, so we have 15 minutes left if you guys would like to call now. We've got the screen open. You can call us now at 1-518-600-1949. Use 001 if you're international. Or you can call us now at World Crypto Network, all one word, on Skype. So check that out. Got it on the screen. See out what's going on in the chat just a little bit. I always like it when you guys tell me I'm not screen sharing or I don't have sound, because often I don't know. So there's a lot more buttons than there used to be in these things. We're not using Google Hangouts anymore, so because we can't. There's no choice. But yep, we ranted a lot. We told you about the things. We read the news. But I think we're going to run out of time here, and it doesn't look like we're going to have any callers today. What a bummer. The price of Bitcoin is down 1.89% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 6,637, a high of 6,867, and a low of 6,602. That's $1 for 15,081 Satoshis, just over the 15,000 Satoshi barrier. Hey, we got a phone call. Maybe. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Edward. I'm calling from California, LA based. And my question is, if that bill does pass for the, I believe it's $1,200 per citizen if you make, under 75 grand a year, is that going to still be taxed? Or do we have to report that at the end of the year? Or how do you see it?
I would bet that it's going to be taxed as income. As horrifying as it might sound, I think they're going to give it to you, and then they're going to ask for some back. I'm pretty sure that you get to keep the money at that level, that it's not a loan, but you got to keep an eye out, because when they say they're helping small businesses, they're giving them loans. What you got to realize, if you lost 3 months of sales, where are you going to get back the 3 months of sales to pay the loan? I don't know where
Correct.
It's coming from, but so yeah, I think normal people are going to get the money, probably going to pay taxes on it as income, like you normally would if you got paid normally. I think you also pay taxes on unemployment insurance. It's been a while now since I was on it, but you had the option to either have the taxes taken out, or at the end of the year, you figure them out, and if it's high enough, you have to pay, and otherwise you could get it taken off, that kind of thing. So yeah, you definitely have to pay. Also, in the U.S., it's only a one-time $1,200 payment, whereas in Canada, they're getting $2,000 a month for 4 months.
So it's just for 1 month.
Yeah, it's a one-time. It's really, it pays rent for a month, no doubt. I wish I had it. I work for myself here. I'm probably not going to get anything, but it's a bummer. So I'm personally not looking forward to it. But if you have a job and you're laid off, you should get it, as well as the paid sick leave thing. That was for people who have jobs. But again, they capped that. They capped it as under 50 employees, it doesn't matter, and over 500 employees, it doesn't matter. So that was not a very impressive giveaway either. The main people that are benefiting here are Boeing. Boeing's getting a bailout while not calling it a bailout, and they're going to be saved from their bad mistakes with the 737 MAX, and as well as for the buybacks. And all the airlines are getting bailouts, even though they bought back their stock, and the cruise lines and everyone else. It's one of those things. They talked about the people, and even on CNBC the last couple of days, they've started talking about this new group of people. They're not investors. They're workers. And they've talked about needing to get the money to the workers and how important it is. And certainly on the left, you have someone that I admire, like Andrew Yang, who just wanted to give people checks. And what I like so much about Andrew Yang's basic income is that it's fair. I'm not well off, but I could use $1,200. Well off people, if they get the $1,200, fine, give it to them. Let them donate it to church or buy a watch or whatever they want to do. I don't care. But I love the fairness of just giving it to everyone. And in this crisis, I would have loved that fairness because I could use a little rent money now, and anybody else, especially if you drive Uber or something, I don't think that you're laid off or that you're unemployed. You just can't get any rides. Like nobody's taking Uber. So
Exactly.
it's gonna be super tight, and yeah, they're giving us barely anything at all. So
Yeah, I was speaking to one of my family members. He works in the medical field, and he's obviously busy at the moment. Meaning he doesn't really need that $1,200. He doesn't make over that 75 grand a year, so he really doesn't need that $1,200. But at the same time, like I don't see, like you mentioned, I don't see why not give it to everybody, whether they want to donate it, whether they want to buy a watch, like you said, or do whatever with it. So I see it from your point of view as well. And then another question I have is, do you see this getting better, the coronavirus getting better? I mean, yes, like for instance, I was looking at the map, and the president has said, in the Midwest there isn't very many cases compared to California, Washington, Florida, New York as well, and other states that are becoming hot spots or whatever. Do you see it getting better, or as he mentions, he wants to open. He wants to open everything and get people out and have the churches packed again here within the next 2 weeks. What do you see? What's your opinion?
well, I definitely think that in the long term, it's going to get better. A lot of people are on the side that this isn't a big deal and it's not going to kill enough people. So those people are very much rooting for this to get done, and they think it's fake. Even on the other side, I just think we don't know. We don't know the mortality rate. We're going to find out, someday. But so we're going to have to let it run its course. It's a lot like when we talk about here, like the Bitcoin price. Let's say some company releases software tomorrow, excuse me, that makes Bitcoin really useful, right? We're going to need 24 hours to wait before everyone in the world has heard about this useful Bitcoin software. And everyone in the world is going to have to make their decision. Do I want to try to buy more Bitcoin? Do I want to sell Bitcoin? Do I want to hold what I have? Right? And that's how our markets work. So in the same way, the coronavirus is going to come over us like a wave. It's going to cross the whole country. There's going to be outbreaks everywhere. Hopefully not all at the same time, and hopefully not in the same geographic place, but hopefully we can manage them. And it's going to roll through the whole society, and then it's going to roll back. But then like a wave, it's going to come back again, right? I mean, there's going to be people that didn't get it. The vaccine's not going to be out soon enough. We're going to, at some point, I don't agree with the president's plan to do it in 3 weeks, but at some point we're going to have to come out of our hibernation, go back into the world, and essentially get infected. Like there's going to be a second wave where we get infected again, where hopefully geographically at that time, with the help of testing and medicine, we could go home and say, okay, well, like Kentucky, you're back on lockdown for 2 weeks, and then we wait the 2 weeks, everybody stays out of Kentucky, they get better. And then we say, okay, Nevada, you're on lockdown for 2 weeks. It's no good there. And that we keep dealing with this and we keep making it smaller and smaller, right? The problems we have right now, like we don't have enough gloves, masks, or ventilators. If as a country and as a world, and whether it happens here, it's going to happen in Germany and in other countries, we set ourselves to solving those problems, 3 months, 6 months, I hope that we'll be drowning in ventilators and gloves and things, and it won't be such a problem. And then the virus gets smaller and the economy gets bigger and people go back to work, and maybe someday we even feel like going to a movie theater again. Right now it feels like death for a movie. But again, if I could see maybe Aerosmith again, death for an Aerosmith show, that's a pretty good deal. So
Exactly.
we're going to all have to make those decisions and choices and have to come out of our social anxiety and come out of our fear of other people, and all these things are going to last. But yeah, I think eventually we're going to come out of this. We're going to beat this. It's a virus. It doesn't kill everybody. But yeah, I don't think we should be in a rush to get back to churches, and no disrespect meant to churches, but just yeah, I don't agree with that plan. What do you think? Do you think that we're ready to reopen, or do you want to wait a little longer?
So I work from home. I got a new job here last summer, and yeah, I have the opportunity to work from home, so it really doesn't affect me. But I see the numbers of unemployment and, you know, all the people getting laid off, and even my family member that works in the medical field, they have some people that, you know, are getting laid off as well because due to funding, due to whatever. So I mean, in a way, yeah, I want people, you know, to get back to work because I've been in the unemployment section, you know, part of my life as well, and it sucks because, you know, you're limited to. I think I was getting like around $300 every 2 weeks or something like that, and you know that sucks versus getting a paycheck constantly. So yes, but at the same time, I don't want to. I personally don't want to get sick. I don't want to see a family member sick, and obviously, you know, the public, you know, also matters. So it's I'm like 50-50, you know, at the same time, but it doesn't affect me. Like I said, I work from home, so that's my opinion.
And I think that's a fair way to be. We all want to reopen. We all want to get back to work and going outside and everything. And even although I can say it's definitely helping me save money. I'm not wasting any money at stores. I used to go to like discount stores and buy things or get records or music or any kind of like crap I used to buy from outside. That's pretty much over. I don't feel like I want any more crap either. My crap buying impulse is going down.
Right. I'm a little bit on the opposite side. I tend to just browse online, eBay, Amazon, different websites.
So it's still affecting you. You could still shop. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I definitely do some of that myself, and even that of trying to cut back. Just I would be nice not to have any Amazon deliveries for a while. Just live on the stockpile. I mean, I've got lots of books and stuff. I'll be fine. But yeah, it's something about the new thing. You're always excited about the new thing, and it's better than whatever your old stuff is. So that definitely keeps happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then one last thing I have, what do you see the unemployment numbers being at in terms of people, you know, in the millions? Right now, I think it was over like 3 million or 3.3. What do you see it, you know, at the end of this year, or maybe at the end of the summer, beginning of the summer? Where do you see it, in your opinion?
I'm always bad with big number calculations, but there's definitely a couple more million in there. We just have to think about all the industries that are hit by this. You know, cruises aren't happening, airlines aren't happening, airports aren't happening, travel, all these things, new cars. Nobody's buying anything. Movie theaters, theaters in general, Cirque du Soleil, all of our entertainment people are all in real trouble. And if you just think about all the industries connected to these industries, if we're not out filming movies, we're not having catering and craft services, you know, we're not renting cameras, we're not renting trucks, we're just not renting cranes, like all these different things are, even I think housing would slow down. I don't know that we're building new houses right now or that we're building new cars. They say the new iPhone is going to be delayed, which we've been watching for a while as a big indicator. So yeah, I think we're still in real trouble. A lot of these industries aren't going to come just back. A lot of the small businesses, they're toast. If they have 2 months of no money, they can't afford their lease, and they can't afford their lease. It's up and it's over. So instead of just going back to work at a small restaurant, I think people are going to have to start small restaurants. I don't know if we're going to have like grants or some kind of funding to like restart our small business. I hope we will. I can't assume. I mean,
not even that. Like you said, you know, the 2 months, like how you mentioned about the 2 months, like I don't see people after even 2 months going back to how life was 6 months ago, you know, entertainment, food, going out, this or that. They're still going to be taking precautions to go out, you know. Maybe I mean, I order out. I've seen people order out, but I don't see people going back to how it used to be maybe 6 months ago, you know. So like you said, I feel like the smaller restaurants, they're definitely toast in terms of, you know, not even just the 2 months of, you know, not having a income coming in, but, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6 months of slowly people getting back to the norm, especially with laying like employees off. You know, they need to get employees back on, and the employees are going to be like, well, why am I going to go back? You know, what if this happens again? I'm just going to get laid off again. Like, you know.
Well, and this frustrating process is going to unfold over 3 months or 6 months or 2 years, right? And I know watching those guys on CNBC every day, they are just chomping at the bit to get back to normal. And yesterday, the last couple of days, they had the good days, and they thought we were there. And I didn't think so at all. I'm not some big stock guy. Don't take my advice. But I looked at it and I said, okay, well, I want to wait till earnings. I want to see how much money, like, for example, Apple thought they were going to sell 1 million phones. But then everybody stayed inside and nobody bought phones. So how many phones did they actually sell? Then the next part of earnings is the projections for next time. How many phones do you think you're going to sell in the next 6 months with everybody kind of shell-shocked and nobody shopping? So I think earnings are going to be absolutely brutal. And they have to announce them. There's a bunch of rules. They announce them quarterly. I think it's in a couple of weeks that we're going to see earnings. So I'm waiting till then, personally. And even then, if we're in a total collapse, I mean, it's impossible to find the floor. It just keeps going. So.
Yeah. Well, we'll see here when the 2 to 3 week time frame, see where we're at, and appreciate your time and having me on there.
Yeah, thanks so much for the call, and we'll just see how it goes and try to get through this together, right?
All right. Have a good one.
Thanks so much. And you can call us now or call us at any time at 1-518-600-1949 or on Skype at World Crypto Network. We'll try to keep the show going for just a little bit more. If you guys want to call in, maybe ask a question or just share your story, what it's like where you live. Are people taking it seriously? Did they close the stores? Are they still going to bars and beaches and what have you? I don't know. Jeremy says there should be sit-down restaurants for people who have already had corona. And it is kind of an interesting idea to think about on the other side, that if you were exposed and you did live through it and didn't have to get a ventilator or whatever, or they had one for you, you're in a unique class. You're kind of, well, we don't know. Theoretically, you're immune to the virus. So you could take advantage of all the travel deals going on right now. You could walk around empty cities. Although a lot of them have rules or shelter in place, you might run into police officers, get a fine or something like that if you're in Italy, things like that. There was a guy recently, I read the article about him. He worked at the Waffle House, and he got infected, and he got out, and now he doesn't know what to do. Oh, I lost him. Martin, you can call back or whatever. I was going to answer. But yeah, this guy was working at the Waffle House, and he got the COVID virus. And he went to the hospital, and he was in for about a week, and he recovered, and he's better now. And the Waffle House is closed. And, a lot of people don't have a couple extra $100 of savings for next month or that kind of thing. And there are basically no jobs. And he's healthy. He's theoretically immune, and he's ready to work. So I don't know what to do with those people. Hopefully he'll find something in another restaurant that maybe he's doing delivery or pickup. I know Waffle House never closes, and they have a record right now because they've closed a bunch of their locations to protect people, because you can't be gathering in a Waffle House like you used to. And I don't know how good their food would be on takeout. Probably pretty bad. But yeah, what do we do with people that are immune or on the other side? But I think that's a problem that'll sort itself out. Eventually there'll be enough of those people, and eventually, hopefully, we'll get that vaccine, and then everyone will be that way. If you want to talk about creepy things, I don't know if it was Bill Gates or if it was just a fake article, but they were suggesting that Bill Gates wanted to implant a little chip in you, and then they could put your coronavirus status in the little chip, and then they could scan the little chip, say if you want to go to the movie theater or if you want to go to the restaurant. Certainly creepy, certainly invasive, but hard to find a better solution. I mean, maybe doing nothing, going back to normal, that's a solution. Something. It's going to have some kind of effect. Voluntary chips. You could have the chip, and then you could go to the movie theater faster, or maybe you still have to carry around your piece of paper that says you were vaccinated by the coronavirus, but I can fast pass it because I got the chip. I don't know. It's possible. I do. It's pretty fun. I know that guy, Mr. Bitcoin. He's in the Amsterdam in the Netherlands. And my buddy Martin, he's got the chip in his hand. And he could put a Bitcoin address in there, or he could control his smart house. It does the locks or something, some kind of fancy things. And he says he used to put actual Bitcoin on there. He could use it as a wallet, and he could pay for things with the NFC in the little chip. And it's just a little chip that they put in cats. And he had a veterinarian put it in his hand because the doctors wouldn't do it or something like that. But maybe that happens to all of us. Maybe we all have little chips inside us that show our medical status. Like the guy says in the chat, Thomas just wants all these Gibson and Philip K. Dick novels to come true. Actually, I don't want them to come true, but they keep coming true anyway. And I think Gibson himself feels this. One of the big features in Gibson's last book was something called a wheelie boy, which I know as the thing I met Roger Ver on. It's got wheels and a stick and like an iPad on it, and it's a telepresence device. You can drive it around and say hi to people and monitor your factory and whatever else you want to do. And it was really interesting to see these as a futuristic thing in Gibson, and then a real life thing when I met Roger as a robot in Miami years ago. Roger wasn't allowed to go to the U.S., so he couldn't go to conventions, so he had one of these wheelie boys, or whatever they call it, a telepresence device, iPad on a stick, that he could drive around like a remote control car. It was pretty cool. And now we're all in quarantine, and that would be the greatest, most useful thing ever. Boy, it'd be fun if I could drive a remote control car outside and see what the world's like. I think everybody would like that. So once again, futuristic thing in a Gibson book a few years ago, completely normal now. So let's see. Jeremy says you could sign a waiver at the restaurant that you're aware of the risk of getting corona to use the restaurant. And I do think that that's going to be that kind of legality and creepiness about eating is definitely going to follow us after this. It was still during the Chinese phase of the crisis, but I saw an NBC News reporter demonstrating how pickup food delivery works in China. The guy showed up on his little motorcycle. He opened the thing, stepped 2 feet away from his motorcycle. The NBC reporter walked up, took the food out of the bag. The guy walked back up, closed up his motorcycle, and left. On the corner of the food was a certificate with a signed reading of the temperature of the guy who prepared the food and the temperature of the guy who delivered the food, so that you could confirm, at least theoretically, cleanliness and lack of disease in your food structure. So that's going to be part of the future. That sounds like a creepy sci-fi movie now, because a few weeks ago we just used to get delivery like normal, but it's going to change, that kind of temperature monitoring. Jeff Bezos is calling it hygienic commerce. They're going to refit the entire Amazon structure, presumably putting scanners to see if the boxes are dirty, other scanners to make sure the boxes aren't dirty, maybe even a cleaning structure that sprays all the boxes with something. I don't know what they're going to do, but they've already identified it as something their consumers are going to want badly. Let's see, one more phone call. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Thomas, how's it going? It's Martin from San Jose.
Hey, Martin. How's it going? Still a deserted wasteland there?
You know what, man? It's funny. There's like 10 Mexicans on the roof down on the roof of the house down the street. They tore this sucker off in like 2 hours. They're redoing it. They're working like nothing's going on. I thought it was interesting. People are still going on. I mean, I guess if you need a roof, you need a roof. But these people, they work hard, man. A
lot of construction's continuing. I know around here we have some parks that they're still working on. They're converting them from like rock to grass. It's going to be amazing. But yeah, the guys are out there. I hope they're doing the social spacing. Of course, they're not wearing masks. I guess it's fine. You're working outdoors, and it's the other kind of thing where they have to plant this grass now if they want to have grass next year. There's no real other option around here. If they wait 2-3 weeks, they just can't do it. They have to wait a year. So a lot of these things have to continue, and especially the structural soundness of these buildings. If you have like a half-built building, you have to finish it so that the weather doesn't wreck the structure. So I think a lot of that is continuing that we might not know about.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked construction and worked in shops and stuff for the past 10 years, and a lot of those guys, man, they don't give a shit. They'll just keep going, and
I mean, I understand a lot of those guys got kids, whatever. You gotta keep doing what you gotta do. But I don't see them wearing masks. But you know what's going on out here? There's just not enough.
Yep.
We got nurses and doctors posting on Nextdoor, please deliver these masks to so-and-so address. We're low. We're fighting a war without ammo. So it's pretty surreal,
And these are things that cost 25 cents in normal times. It's really frustrating because it's not like the world can't make these masks, and it's not like we even don't have any. It's just that they're being hoarded in someone's house and they're not donating them. The hospitals didn't order enough. The military, the president, the National Security Council, all these things didn't order enough backup masks. And it's funny, you think about, compare this to like a nuclear war. I know I grew up in the Cold War and all that. We always expected the Soviets to bomb us and so on and so forth. And we always kind of expected the government would have a plan. That, like, let's say that Colorado got bombed. We'd be like, oh, well, we're going to do all this and this and that and cordon off the area and a series of things to be followed. And they bring out all those binders in all the movies. And it turns out they did have a binder. They had a 69-page binder from the National Security Council of Pandemic Awareness. They just didn't follow it. So
they put it up on the shelf.
Yeah, even the preparation that we did do, which again, I guess it was biased because it was by a different administration. It wasn't done by this holy administration. But still, we used to have this kind of administrative knowledge. Like, I know that they've said President Obama warned him about pandemics. They had special meetings about pandemics. Bill Gates has been warning people about pandemics. And still, we get to this point wholly unprepared.
Oh, yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It's like if it weren't real, it would be a bad movie. Like I imagine Trump, it's a couple of days into his presidency, and there's a fresh binder of pandemic, preparedness on his desk, and he just tosses it off onto the shelf where it collects dust for 3 years, and also cancels the pandemic team. And, now he's left with his dick in his hand. And what are we going to do?
The trailer writes itself, right? It's like, we were unprepared. We had no masks. We had no gloves. We had no ventilator. And this guy was in charge. And it doesn't seem real, right? I mean, one of my favorite movie from last year was Long Shot. And it's a Seth Rogen, Charlize Theron romantic comedy. It's a little dirty. But inside it, they have Bob Odenkirk from Better Call Saul. And he's this incredible character, obviously based on the president. And he used to play a president on TV. Then he's elected president. Then his goal is to go back to TV and to movies and to act more. And there's all these different shots of him watching himself on TV. And it's like watching himself on West Wing. But then he really is in the West Wing. So it's pretty much like that. It's very surreal. AR in the chat says it's like a Mel Brooks movie going on. It's kind of wacky.
Yep. Yeah. Another thing that I've been doing, I got, are you familiar with Baofeng radios? They're these little ham radios that you can use. And you ever heard of that?
No, it sounds interesting. How far can it reach?
Well, it depends. I can pick up, like I use it to listen to the firefighter dispatch, and there's these little repeaters that you can tune into, and essentially you could talk to anyone in the country using these repeaters, and they're run by ham radio clubs, and they're good to have like for your preparedness kit. If communications go down, if the internet goes down, you can get one of these radios. They're like $30 or $40 on Amazon. It's BAO, F as in Fox, ENG, Baofeng, and they're really good to have. And you can use them as a walkie-talkie. You can listen to. They have a weather station. You gotta find what the numbers are in your area. But past couple of weeks, I've been tuning into the fire department dispatch, and oh man, the past couple days, Thomas, has just been like non-stop calls of they're sending firefighters out to people who have difficulty breathing, and up until a few days ago, they were not prepared. They weren't protecting themselves. So now, when the dispatcher says, we got a call at 586 Hamilton Road, difficulty breathing, they'll say droplet protection advised. So this is only a couple of days ago that they started protecting themselves. So, what's going to happen when the firefighters get sick? They haven't even been looking out for themselves. And I read something about New York, 425 NYPD tested positive because they haven't been protecting themselves either. And these are the hot spots, and we can't even get masks for the people that are, frontline responders. It's insane. It's insane. Anyways, I don't know.
There's got to be some kind of an alternate universe where Betty Ross is knitting tons of masks, and everyone is sewing masks, and the whole country is coming together just to give each other the masks for firemen, for policemen, for the medical staff. I mean, even for the guys restocking shelves at grocery stores, I don't see them wearing masks. I don't know that the grocery clerks had better be wearing masks. I saw some nonsense that here in Nevada they put like a giant plastic glass sneeze guard or whatever they're calling it to keep the grocery clerks safe. But it was only one side. It wasn't like a box. I mean, it wasn't a containment. Right. It was the sneeze could go around or over the thing. I mean, I was not impressed with it. So.
Well, you know what? Unfortunately, I smoke cigarettes, right? Or when I see that smoke drift, or you can smell someone's tobacco smoke and they're smoking like 30 feet away, that was inside of their lungs. That shit's drifting around. We need masks. Bottom line. That's it.
Well, and we don't think about it. I mean, even with this thing, they said if you sneeze like in a hallway, an enclosed environment, that the sneeze could actually just exist there in the air for a while, and you could walk through it or whatever, and you would, the sneeze would get in you. And we just can't see this thing. We just don't. It's too much, and you can't see all the things going into your mouth from the air. And any kind of a mask, even just a T-shirt or something, would help. It would be better than nothing. So
better than nothing.
But that's not what we're saying here. And it might be, again, we never know what the leaders are really told. Maybe they're told to downplay this mask thing to try to get more people to donate them to hospitals so that our hospitals will last longer. Maybe it's a psychological play. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's a lot of people very mad at the U.S. for saying that masks don't work and for continuing our non-mask culture, especially when we see the success of masks in South Korea and other Asian countries.
Yeah. No, it helps. The other crazy thing is too, I was looking at how much this thing has mutated, right? Like, even if they come up with a vaccine, you got like dozens of other strains that have already occurred. Like, we're just going to live with this shit forever?
Yes.
I don't get it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think we're going to live with it forever for sure. Although I did read an article yesterday that said it was mutating slower than they thought. So initially they were afraid, and I agree with you. There's definitely going to be versions of this thing. I'm not counting that out. But as far as how quickly there's going to be a version, I think we might have a shot. This vaccine, of course, it's not out yet, but when they have the vaccine, it might be the kind of thing that even lasts for a couple of years before there's a new version that we need to start updating against. So it is looking better on that, but it's the same thing. Vaccines got to be tested, takes a bunch of time. There's no real shortcuts other than getting more people sick. And I don't think that the vaccine makers will want to do that. So.
Yeah, I'll tell you something about the vaccine, though, that creeps me out. And this is not for disinformation. This is just how my mind works. I try to be cautious and that vaccine, they're going to force everyone to get it, and they're at a point now with this CRISPR technology where they could edit genes, splice new shit in. Who knows what they're going to stick in there? You know, there's a certain trait in the population that they understand it's XYZ gene. They want to erase that for the next generation, create a more docile populace. I wouldn't put it past them.
I don't know that they'll have the time. Not that I wouldn't put it past them, but I just think they're going to be in such a hurry to get this thing done. They'll probably put it out clean. I think they just, and again, I've read about the kind of things. I know what you're talking about. I know they've tested all kinds of things on all kinds of people in all kinds of different unplanned, untold about experiments and so on and so forth. So it's not impossible,
Exactly.
but I would lean more towards a clean one on this. I think the other half of that's going to be your problem there. People who don't want to get the vaccine and the question of whether it's going to be mandatory or not or whatever. So I don't know, personally, I want the vaccine. I'm psyched for it. Not that I want to be the first person to take it or whatever, but when it's ready, I'm certainly ready to get it. And then I could go back to traveling and living, maybe, theoretically. That's the theory anyway. And as far as anybody else, if you don't want to get it, you're definitely going to get the coronavirus. Like, you're definitely going to be taken down for a couple of weeks. You're going to need a ventilator, depending on your age and your conditions and so on and so forth. So I'm not seeing much reason to not get it. Certainly, like you say, the government's a big conspiracy. They're going to force us all to get it, so it must be a conspiracy. That's kind of logical. I mean, that's a form of reasoning. That's a possibility. So if people don't want to do that, but again, I think it's be better to get it. Yeah, I don't know about it.
It's more that I wonder that because they would see an opportunity. Oh, look, we have a chance to give every man, woman, and child something. We've done this research over here about whatever. I don't even know what they've got going on, but like you mentioned, they have done experiments on people. I mean, going back to the 60s. I mean, before that, there have been eugenics programs regarding African Americans in this country. They've done some evil shit. So I don't. It could be anything. It could be anything. I mean, I could see them forcing us into a position where, you gotta take this. You gotta get this marker, this digital. You'll be on this digital ledger, and then you'll be able to participate in society. But if you don't, then get fucked.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I see the downsides, and I've read the Orwell and everything. I'm with you guys, but at the same time, I also look at it from the other side. If I have a movie theater and I desperately want people to go see movies there, how can I confirm that there's only clean people coming into my movie theater? It's one of those things where, and as well as, again, we're well into the sci-fi movies here, but thinking about special clubs for clean people and other special clubs for not clean people and society breaking down into halves. I don't think that's a good idea either. I think people are going to take this. I think there'll be outliers that don't want it and so on and so forth. But I don't know. I disagree with Jeremy quite a lot here in the chat. I like Jeremy. He's a good guy. But he says, don't trust anything created by humans injected into your body. That goes a little far. I mean, we've killed a lot of diseases, man. I mean, polio was a big problem in this country, and the polio vaccine took it out. Smallpox vaccine took it out. Measles, huge problem. Vaccine took it out. So it's good to be cautious and suspicious and to get more information and totally do that. It's going into your body. You should know a lot about it. But I don't know. I think doctors are all right. I think they've cured a lot of diseases and they've made things better for us. Our life expectancy's gotten longer. I just think there's a lot of good things about medicine that I wouldn't be willing to give up just because I distrust it a little bit. So, but he's, entitled to his own opinion, and it's definitely a philosophical discussion for us to have about this force issue. Of course, I'm not the one forcing it. I'm not in charge of anything, but I can have a discussion about it. And I think it's definitely an issue worth discussing. There's two sides very clearly. So
the thing I never understood about the vaccines was there's so much propaganda about it, right? And like in my mind, if you get the vaccine, you're protected from the disease essentially, right? So what do you care if other people choose not to? I mean that's my line of thinking. And I've had discussions with people online. They say, "Oh, well, it's for the elderly or the infirm who can't get a vaccine." But I don't know, man.
I would agree with that, but
argument.
I'd also say that if there's going to be a COVID B, if there's going to be a new version of the virus, it's going to come from these non-vaccinated people. These non-vaccinated people are essentially the petri dish in which the new virus will grow. So while I might be immune to COVID A, COVID B could be, generated, carried, made stronger by these people who are refusing to get on board with the vaccine. So from a scientific perspective, there might be an argument towards more vaccinations because less carrying of the disease, less mutating of the disease, and we want to win. We want to win long term.
Mm-hmm.
We want to, ideally, a year from now, we've completely forgotten this. We're back in movie theaters. We're spending lots of money. Everything is normal. That's the economy. People want that. The normality people, everyone who was winning beforehand, they want everything to go back to that way. But remember that Bloomberg article, pandemics lead to political change. Maybe not the kind of political change you want, Soviet revolutions and other things that happened after pandemics around the turn of the century last time. So we got to keep an eye out for that, right?
Also war, which is something that concerns me. War, disease, and famine. It's like the dancing Grim Reapers there. They just all come together, try to stir things up. Hey, you know what this reminds me of? What we're talking about is I saw this picture. It was by this illustrator, and it was like a super advanced city on top of a hill, and it was completely walled off, and they had sentries with these laser ball turrets, and there was a ravine, and on the other side of that ravine were like very humble villagers that were living off of the land and sort of subsisting in a natural way. And I wonder if maybe we're headed towards that, where we'll have people who reject that sort of, because I think this is going to bring this is going to bring about a huge technological progress. Like people are going to throw everything they got at it. You're going to get the vaccine. You're going to, it's going to be digital currency time. It's boom, boom, boom. Automation. You're going to have driverless cars, no more Uber. One after another. You had another guy on talking about that. He made some really good points. I forget his name. But he made me think about that, and we'll have this kind of diverging. They'll probably wall themselves off in a way. You get the vaccine, okay, fine. If you don't, get out. Get out. It's like an old, outcasting the ill person archetype. Get rid of them. All right, they don't want it. Get out of here. You're not fit. And all those people, they'll gather around in the boonies.
It's like the people without tattoos in Idiocracy. They said, why come you unscannable? And then in Demolition Man, they had the people that were living in the sewers underneath the ground. They still like to eat meat. They had Dennis Leary was their leader. He was talking about the right to eat meat and smoke cigarettes and all the other things that Dennis Leary used to like in the 80s and 90s, I think, before he got sick and all those things. But the freedom people and yes, the difference of the two societies. I don't know if we're going there. I mean, it's definitely a sci-fi idea, and we could go down that as long as we go. And I think we're going more towards the William Gibson type future with a little bit of Snow Crash, of course, in there, where just extreme responsibility. I think everybody's going to have like a little testing kit on their shirt, like a radiation badge, trying to figure out, if they've been exposed throughout the day. I think everybody's going to have a real good understanding of their immune system and their physiology. That's going to be a lot more. I think we're going to see more immune boosters, more like special foods, all this kind of thing, this focus on immunity and strength, and just monitoring yourself where, like we're talking with these clubs to really, or movie theaters that you have to have a chip to go into. If we really go to the extreme level, society starts stratifying itself based on cleanliness. To have access to the cleanest restaurant or the cleanest club, you're definitely going to have to have a chip. You're definitely going to be on a register. It's not even so much a monetary issue as it is a genetic or a cleanliness or a provable. You have to prove yourself clean. And, same thing they're doing now with the temperature testing. They might have a lot of doorways that you can't go through if you have a temperature. So staying home from work when you're sick is now really required. You can't even just stay home from work and then go out to the store and infect everybody at the store. They don't want you there. Now, if you have your mask on, you have your goggles on, maybe they'll beep you through, let you go shopping or something. But I could see a lot more, essentially, discrimination and maybe acceptable discrimination. We're going to have to decide whether you have the right to be clean or the right to be in a clean environment with other provably clean people. These are major, moral discussion issues. We're not going to settle them right here. But yeah, I definitely think it's a lot of interesting stuff to think about. And like Andrea said, with Bitcoin and the bubble boy and the sewer rat, I think that's all of us now, that we're all in that. Do you want to be a bubble boy? Do you want to be a sewer rat? Are your genetics strong? Are your genetics weak? You're probably going to know that in the future. You're probably going to be much more aware of your possibilities. So yeah, I think it's a lot to think about, and it's happening whether we want to have it happen or not. So.
Yep. There's I saw this little motivational meme of Frodo asking Gandalf. Frodo asks, "Why does this have to happen in our time?" And Gandalf says, "Nobody wants it to happen in their time. It's only up to those to figure out what to do with the time that they're given. We don't have a choice, Yeah.
That's like the ancient Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times.
Oh yeah, well they got us good, huh?
Yeah, they got us on that one. And all of our end of the world preparedness and our Y2K and all the other nonsense that we thought was the big one. Even 9/11 now seems like nothing. They barely, in comparison, they barely closed things down. It was, and we certainly lost civil liberties and all kinds of things. But compared to the way that this is affecting our society, we never talked about, going to movie theaters and having to adjust things, or going to concerts and having to adjust things, or even just going to a bar or a restaurant and having to adjust things because of terrorism. Maybe we should have had metal detectors everywhere. I don't know. But I definitely think we're going to have temperature scanners everywhere. We're going to have maybe these chips or a piece of paper that shows you're vaccinated. I think you're going to have to show it to people. I think they're going to ask. So politeness is going to change.
Hey, have you, do you like Kurt Vonnegut?
Sure. I've read all of Kurt Vonnegut.
So you read Player Piano?
Sure. I love Player Piano. I talk about it all the time.
Yes. Yeah. I think about that book a lot too. Just in terms of automation, and he goes really deep into the people who don't work and they get a little stipend, and then you have the people that run the machines. And
I thought the only change you'd have to make is, instead of paying people to stay home and watch television, which they do there to keep them from wrecking the robots, because sure, we could repair the robots and have robots repair the robots, but that's just a waste of energy. It's a lot cheaper to pay these people to stay home. And I think that we're starting to touch that with the universal basic income that Andrew Yang helped popularize. And the only thing I'd change is, instead of TV, I'd have them stay home to play VR. And that's it. And that was his first book that he wrote when he was still working at General Electric. And he was around all of these science guys and all of these ideas. And his brother's a scientist, a legit scientist. And yeah, he just had this idea and really nailed it with Player Piano, his first book out of the gate. My other big favorite is, of course, Cat's Cradle, with all the Balkanism and the Ice Nine and the Apocalypse type things. And a bunch of the other ones blend together because I read them like back to back to back. But yeah, big Kurt Vonnegut fan. Love everything he's written. He's another one that when you read him, he has such humanity that he really speaks to.
Yeah.
The stories about like So It Goes, and stories about his family and science and the things he learned and how we're going to destroy ourselves with nuclear war and how stupid it is. I've even read some great essays he did, like nonfiction, in Wampa Meters, FOMA, and Grand Falloons, which I finally got to on the Kindle. And yeah, just great essays about trying to help people and how he can't help people, and the communists keep coming back, or the bad guys keep coming back, and the villagers keep getting slaughtered. And he just has such a human way of expressing his anger. He's just I very much aspire to be like him. He's a humanist, right? He's not a religious person. He's not a capitalist or whatever. He's a humanist. And he believes in improving the human race and expanding the human race, and he's a people person. And we don't have enough of that anymore. Yeah, he's really great. I love Vonnegut. Go on and on and on.
Cool, man. Well, hey, thanks for doing the show. I appreciate it. Keeps me occupied in the morning here.
Well, it's been a good time, and it's good when we can get some calls and some thumbs up and some shares and subscriptions and stuff. But yeah, I like doing it. It's been fun. We're checking it out. So.
Oh, all right, man. Hey, take it easy. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Give us a
Talk
call
to you later.
anytime. And you can give us a call now. We'll try to keep the show going if you guys want to keep calling. Otherwise, we'll probably head towards the end of the show. Not sure what Dolphin's saying about deleting messages. Pretty much we're letting most everything through here. I think we're having a good discussion in the chat. Snow Crash versus the Diamond Age. That's another great Neil Stephenson novel. The Diamond Age was about a book called Young Ladies Illustrated Primer. And if you were the normal person, like a poor person or whatever, you would get one version of the book, and it would teach you how to be disciplined and orderly and how to follow society, basically, right? And math and some other stuff too, right? But the other version of the book that was intended for the rich little girls would teach you how to rebel against society, how to push society to the limits, and how to kind of expand things, how to really make a different world. And not a big spoiler, but the basic plot of the Diamond Age is, what if one of these books that's intended for the rich little girl falls into the hand of the poor little girl? How could she remake the world with this knowledge and this approach of pushing back against things rather than an approach of going along with things? So it's been a long time since I've read it, but I really like the Diamond Age when I got it. And Snow Crash and Vonnegut. And I'm reading another Philip K. Dick book. I'm working my way through Maze of Death. Like I said, worst title, better book. Although this one's kind of an average one. He's very much experiencing the big event that Philip K. Dick have experienced, that all of his books are about at a certain point. But Michael says he's watching TV when the coronavirus starts. I agree with that. I've been watching The New Girl, and it's not very good, but at least there's a lot of it, and there's never going to be a virus, so it's nice and distracting. I would suggest for you, if you want to watch something like Friends or Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm's great. Love Curb. Got some new episodes of that to watch. Something fun and light that will distract you. That's what I would suggest. Something with a lot of seasons, something that you can just dig into. Maybe Frasier. I never watched Frasier. Maybe it's good. Just something to be distracted. Jennifer says she's starting Philip K. Dick. There's so many of them. The first 5 or so, you read all the popular ones. Man in the High Castle. That's a good one. Of course, it's a movie now. Also, Flow My Tears, The Policeman Said. Great Philip K. Dick book about a guy. He's like a game show host. The whole world knows him. Then he wakes up one morning. No one knows him. And of course, he happens to live in a government where you need a chip, where you need to be known. all of these things. Great stuff. Then eventually, if you keep reading Philip K. Dick, you'll get into the Valis trilogy and this vast artificial life system that Philip K. Dick connects up to the satellite out there. There's a long thing about Philip K. Dick. He had this religious experience. He wanted to have a religious experience. This light reflected off of a girl's necklace. It was a fish necklace, the original Christ symbol. And in that second, he connected with a satellite. And the satellite has been out of touch with humanity since Christ died. And Philip K. Dick got all the information in the world from this satellite. And either that's true or that's not true. But at a certain point, Philip K. Dick does nothing but write about this experience with the satellite. There's a lot more to it. Maybe we'll have more of a Philip K. Dick episode where we can talk more about it. AR also says, check out Ready Player One. We may be headed for a world of oases, virtual reality worlds. If you like Ready Player One, check out Armada by the same author. It's very clearly a take on Last Starfighter. But if you like Last Starfighter, you'll like Armada, and I'll bet they'll make that into a movie soon. Last Starfighter is a great movie. Check out Last Starfighter from the 80s if you haven't seen it. Ready Player One, also a good movie, different from the book. But I kind of like some of the changes. They did a really nice thing with the nostalgia and with the kind of the Garth type character and his regrets. I thought they did a really nice thing trying to teach us through his regrets. Black Knight Satellite. I don't know, that might be the same thing Philip K. Dick's into. Tower says he's trying to read Valis. It's confusing. Yeah, it's a little trippy. There's even the book I'm reading, Maze of Death, it said in the introduction that somebody along the line, their acid trip or the thing that happened to them when they died, that was based on a real acid trip. So I imagine there's a lot of that in Valis too. But yeah, I made my way through the Valis trilogy. Then I read Radio Free Albermuth, which is, again, another retelling of the Valis story couched in a little bit more normal environs. The same thing, Maze of Death. He's talking about the Valis story. He's written himself into the book. He is this genius who's written the book that everyone reads now that teaches them all about the world and all of his ideas about time stopping and Rome still existing behind the scenes and this being a confusing, not real time. Everyone in Maze of Death believes. So it's really neat to see Philip K. Dick work out his ideas through characters, which is a lot of other people do this. Ayn Rand did this. Other people did it as well. So, yeah, definitely some good Philip K. Dick stuff out there. If you really want to get into it, this book right here is called The Exegesis of Philip K. Dick. I know this mainly from watching documentaries about this, but as you can see, he had this thing called automatic writing. He would just write. And this is his attempt to understand this event that happened to him, the Valis event, the exegesis of Philip K. Dick. Well, you can't really see it from that camera angle, but it's a big book. He wrote a lot. And this is an edited down version of thousands of pages that he wrote trying to understand this event. And of course, he definitely considered the possibility that he just made up the whole event. There's this other Philip K. Dick event that happens where his files were blown up. And Dick either believes that the FBI or some other agency or something blew up his files, but he also considers there's a possibility that he blew up his own files. And that his mind is working against his mind. A lot of the ideas of Fight Club came from Scanner Darkly, where the man's an undercover operative and he doesn't know that he's investigating himself and so on and so forth. And it's just about a lot of layers, a lot about identity. People are always becoming someone else. Things are always not as they seem. There's a lot of dimensions and things. But there's a lot of cool Philip K. Dick books out there. You definitely don't have to start with this one, but I'd check it out. Also, if you're into Philip K. Dick and you get the Amazon Kindle Unlimited, it's kind of like a subscription program. They have all the Philip K. Dick books in there, so you can borrow them as part of that program. Maybe save a couple bucks. So thanks so much to everybody for joining us, giving us a thumbs up and a share. couple of cool phone calls, and I think we're about done for today. I'm supposed to come back in like an hour and a half, do the Bitcoin group. We'll see if I can gather up the people for that. Obviously, I didn't write anything because I was just doing the show this morning. But we might improvise. We'll try to get the Bitcoin group going for you. Otherwise, I've been doing the show every day. So I'm going to try to keep going tomorrow, 9 a.m., Saturday. Maybe you're at work all week. You've been waiting to give me a rash of shit for my Trump dislike or whatever. Maybe you could do that tomorrow. So, but yeah, I think that's about it. I'm going to go sit on the couch like everybody else and watch TV. So hopefully we'll get some exercise in. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks for thanking me and hanging out and being positive. Thanks for leaving comments down below. We got a couple of nice comments on some previous shows. And don't worry. I've got a little cough because I talked for like 2.5 hours. I'm cross-training. A great friend of mine in Barcelona said, "How long can you talk consecutively?" And he could talk for several hours. He was into it. But I'm still working on it. I'm still building up my ability to talk for several hours. So until next time, the price of Bitcoin is up 1.56% with a last of 6660.12. Until next time, read those Philip K. Dick books. Let me know what you guys are reading. Maybe we'll talk more about books next time. I had a good time doing that. Also, Vonnegut. A big fan of Vonnegut. Can't get enough Vonnegut. If you haven't read Vonnegut, read some Vonnegut. Until next time, bye-bye.